Good evening and welcome, commissioners, applicants, and interested parties to the September 11th, 2025 meeting of the Cohasset Conservation Commission. My name is Chris McIntyre, and I am the chair of the Cohasset Conservation Commission, and I will be running tonight's meeting as we implement the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 260 of the Cohasset Bylaws governing wetlands protection, and Chapter 263 of the Cohasset Bylaws governing stormwater management. The Conservation Commission meeting is now open and in session is being held on Zoom. If you have any questions for the commission, please use the Q&A feature on the Zoom application. Please include your name and address to be recognized. When called, please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Present this evening on behalf of the Conservation Commission is the town's conservation agent, Charlotte Pechtel, as well as the Conservation Administrative Clerk, Melinda Wall. I will now take a roll call vote of commissioners. Please respond by repeating your name and saying present. Tom Bell.
Tom Bell.
Steve Magnell.
Steve Magnell present.
Kathy Berrigan.
Kathy Berrigan present.
Sanji Fernando. Absent. Will Ashton.
Will Ashton present.
And Chris McIntyre present. We have a quorum tonight of 5 commissioners. First up this evening, we have minutes for approval. We have the April 18th, 2024 minutes. First up, did anyone have any comments, edits, or questions about the minutes from April 18th?
Mr. Chair, Sanji just joined, actually.
Okay, thank you. Doing a roll call. Sanji, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, present.
Thank you. All right, Sanji Fernando present. We have a quorum tonight of 6 commissioners. First up, we have the minutes from April 18th, 2024. Does anyone have any comments, questions, or edits? Okay. Then we'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from April 18th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, with the motion and a second, I will take a voice vote. All in favor of approving the minutes from April 18th, 2024, say aye.
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 Aye. That vote passes. The minutes from April 18th, 2025 are approved. And next we have the August.
Sorry, Kathy. Did you abstain?
Yes, I wasn't there, so I was going to say abstain. Yes.
I
So
do abstain too, so I think it's 4.
Okay.
4. All right. So then the vote is 4-0-2. I'll just do a roll call vote for these then. All right, Ed, does anyone have any comments, questions, or edits for the August 21st, 2025 meeting minutes? I was not present for that, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay, so I'll make
Anyone care?
approve the minutes for April, what was the date? Or
August 21st, 2025.
August 21st, 2025.
Does anyone want to make a second?
second.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, with a motion and a second, I will take a roll call vote of Commissioners Tom Bell to approve these minutes.
Tom Bell.
Steve Magnell.
August 20th. Yes.
Steve Magnell, aye. Kathy Berrigan.
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Sanji Fernando.
Sorry, Mr. Commissioner, I was just double checking if I was at that meeting. I think
I don't think so, Sanji. You're welcome to
I don't think
abstain.
I'll abstain. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at my calendar trying to figure out if I was at that one.
Okay. Will Ashton.
I don't think I was there, Charlotte, right?
You were there. Yeah.
Oh, I was. Okay, aye.
And Chris McIntyre abstained. That vote passes 4-0-2. The minutes from August 21st, 2025 are approved. Thank you. All right. First, I'm just gonna go through the continued hearings. Continued until September 23rd, 2025 is we have NOI 25-19 with stormwater permit 25-10 for 40 Pond Street and its accompanying project NOI 25-20 and stormwater permit 25-11 for 46 Pond Street. Also continued to September 23rd, 2025 is NOI 25-13 for 94 Black Horse Lane. And now for the public hearings. Okay, first up we have RDA 25-11. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Cohasset Wetlands Bylaw and the Cohasset Stormwater Bylaw, the Cohasset Conservation will hold a remote public hearing via Zoom on Thursday, September 11th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. for request for determination of applicability 25-11 to repave a private road, Hyde Lane, partially within the buffer zone for Anthony Katrupi at 724 Jerusalem Road. The public is invited to offer input by attending the meeting or emailing cpectel@cohassetmass.gov.
Hi, Tony.
Hi, Charlotte. Hello, Commission member.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Would you be presenting, or would you like Charlotte to?
I wasn't anticipating presenting, Charlotte. I think Charlotte knows my situation pretty well.
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, I thought I had this open. Give me 1 second. So just to summarize, the area in question is Hyde Lane. In case you guys aren't familiar, that is off of Jerusalem Road. It's across the street from Straits Pond. And so in talking with Tony, I think based on, just looking at it roughly on, GIS, without a formal delineation, really only the entrance is probably within the 100-foot buffer from Straits Pond across the street, plus or minus this boundary here. So just to be cautious, since Straits Pond is an EC, an area of critical environmental concern, and there will just be a little bit of temporary disturbance in the buffer zone to repave. That's why I just felt like an RDA was sufficient for this. It is not within the 50-foot buffer as far as I'm aware. And I don't believe any portion of Jerusalem Road will be paved. Tony, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep. So you don't need a street open permit or anything like that to cut into the road or anything. Okay. And you're not changing grade, not increasing impervious.
No.
You're keeping it asphalt. It's existing asphalt, so you're just doing a repaving job.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, and butters within 100 feet of this. It was, we didn't like the 724 parcel wasn't appropriate since it's all the way up here. So what we did was we notified abutters within 100 feet of this area right here. So open it up to questions, I guess, unless Tony, do you have anything else to add?
No, thank you. That's great.
Thank you, Charlotte. Any questions from commissioners off the bat?
Yeah, will the whole driveway be repaved or just the apron at the end of at Jerusalem Road?
Yeah, the entire driveway. It's about 800 feet all the way up the hill.
Okay. Thank you. No other questions?
Okay. Any other commissioners? Steve? Anything?
I have no questions.
Okay. Kathy?
I'm
Questions?
all set
comments?
straight ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Will?
No, it all looks fine to me. Thank you.
And Sanjay, anything to add or questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Great, then. I will make a motion to close the public hearing for request for determination of applicability 25-11 at 724 Jerusalem Road, and issue a negative determination for work within the 100-foot
Yeah, I think,
Which-
yeah, -3 for work in the buffer zone. And then if you want any conditions, you can add them.
Yes. I make an issue, yes, a -3 determination of applicability for proposed work as shown in the submission documents, with our standard conditions. There's no, yeah, I don't have any, there's no special conditions for this, Charlotte, right? You don't have anything
Unless
to
you
add?
want them, yeah.
No, I don't think so. Do I have a second?
Tom Bell.
Second.
Thank you. All right, then I'll take a roll call vote of commissioners. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnoll, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, I.
Sanji Fernando,
Sanjay Fernando, aye.
Will Ashton,
Will Ashton, I.
and Chris McIntyre, aye. That vote passes 6-0-0. And that hearing is closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay. Next up, we have NOI 25-2022 for 81 Border Street, after the fact permit for removal of asphalt and grass for a 3/4 inch river rock auto court with landscape tie border within the 200-foot river front area for Mr. Girardi. Do you have anyone to promote for this? Is anyone here for that?
This one should be brief, to refresh everyone's memory from the last meeting. It was an after the fact permit required from an enforcement order, which was lifted at the last meeting upon, approval from the commission and review of the after the fact permit. We were waiting on a DEP file number, so we can't issue the order of conditions without it. So, there was no further discussion needed. So the commission voted to close the public hearing, but within the 21-day time frame, you have to issue the order of conditions. So we're pretty much at that mark right now. And we do have a DEP file number. So nothing else to add if you guys just want to vote on it. And obviously, since it's after the fact, don't think we need any special conditions. I would recommend, just for the record, just voting on an after the fact variance as well, since the work did occur within the 50-foot buffer to the coastal bank partially. It was also in the inner riparian zone for the riverfront area.
Okay. Thank you. Then I make a motion to issue an after the fact, just the order of conditions then?
Yep.
Or, yeah, after the fact order of conditions with our standard conditions. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Then I will take a roll call vote of commissioners with a, excuse me, with a motion and a second. I will take a roll call vote. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell, muted, Steve.
Steve Magnoll, aye.
Thank you. Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, I.
Sanji Fernando,
Sanjay Fernando, aye.
Will Ashton,
Will Ashton, I.
and Chris McIntyre, aye. That vote passes 6-0-0. I'll also make a I will also make a motion to issue an after the fact variance for work within the 50 and the 200-foot riverfront area for notice of intent 25-22 at 81 Border Street. Do I have a second?
Tom Bell, second.
Thank you, Tom. With that, then I will take roll call vote. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnoll, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, I.
Sanji Fernando,
Sanjay Fernando, aye.
Will Ashton,
Will Ashton, I.
and Chris McIntyre, aye. That vote passes 6-0-0. Very good. Okay, moving right along. So that closes then the NOI 25-22. Next up, we have NOI 25-24 in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Cohasset Wetlands Bylaw, and the Cohasset Stormwater Bylaw. The Cohasset Conservation Commission will hold a remote Public hearing via Zoom on Thursday, September 11th, 2025 at 6:30 PM for notice of intent 25-24 to remove a damaged tree, repair existing stone walls and patio, and construct a new stone wall within resource areas for Andrew Wise at 84 Gammons Road. The public is invited to offer input by attending the meeting or emailing cpectel@cohassetmass.gov.
Andy,
Charlotte, do we have anyone for this one? Thank you.
Hi, Charlotte. Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
So I have a short presentation, maybe about 5 or 10 minutes, which is a summary of the NIY that my wife Leslie and I submitted. My wife is on the line, the Zoom call also, and you've given me permission to share. So I will do that right now.
and Andy, I'm promoting Leslie too, unless she wants to stay in the audience.
She can just stay in the audience.
Okay. Yeah, her choice.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to try to minimize you here. Great. Very good. Again, we're at 84 Gammons Road, which is, there are 12 properties on Gammons Road. We're at the very end, Rice Island, which has 4 properties. And as you read, we're seeking your approval to repair existing stone walls, build a new wall, also rebuild an existing patio, and then remove a damaged tree. 84 Gammons Road, as I mentioned, is at the end of Gammons, Rice Island, which is right in the middle of Little Harbor, again, Jerusalem, Atlantic here, and we are on the north side. Have just a series of photos that will give you a perspective of the property and what we're seeking to do. Just a drone shot from a few years ago. We are looking south. Gammons Road is right along the front of the home. Our property line starts right here and ends here. And the existing walls are all in the rear of the house along Little Harbor. Again, this is the north side. This wall is about 60 feet long, and then there are about 4 segments of walls all in between a lot of ledge here, and that's what we're requesting to rebuild these. There's also an existing patio right here, stone patio, pervious, and then on this side, the western side, that's where we'll would like to build a wall. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but I will just point out that there is an existing wall right here, and we can show that when I pull up the current plot plan. The tree that I mentioned is located right here in front of our guest house. So we have, this is a guest house and a main house. Also very important, as I just noted in that first slide, key here is stabilization. There's been significant erosion over many years. That's why we need to rebuild these walls. Of particular concern are these 2 large trees. They're oak trees about 24 inches in diameter that also are at risk because of erosion right here for these dilapidated walls. Just moving on, I included this slide. It's upside down of the existing plot plan, but positioned in the same way, the orientation of the property. So again, the main home, guest house, a proposal to rebuild these walls and add this wall. And again, here's that tree. And I'll zoom in on this a little bit later when we could go into some of that detail. Just some pictures. Just a little, again, more view of the walls that we're seeking. I think you can get that perspective from that other drone shot. This wall is in better shape. That will need mostly pointing, and then other walls need more rebuilding. Not many years ago, these walls were a little further into the marsh, and they were poorly redone, aggregated closer into the yard. The salt marsh moved in, and but then because they weren't done properly, that has perpetuated more erosion. This is the patio that we're seeking. There's about a 2.5-foot wall behind this patio. And again, it's a stone base right now that we would add back and have that all be done properly. So the next set of a few pictures are on the western side, and this was where we'd like to put up that new wall. This view shows where the wall would go, really like right along here. You can see it's almost a very natural, almost by erosion has created this place for a wall to go. About 12 years ago, when we bought the property and had an NOI in 2013 for renovating the two houses. Then we also planted 6 trees, cedar trees along here for stabilization, and now those are also at risk because of erosion in this area. This picture here again showing where we'd like to put this wall, some stones here that also many years ago were moved forward to kind of address what is the most serious erosion on this corner. And then this picture, just again, another view showing the driveway, the 6 trees, and then you can see again the wall would be here just to stabilize this component of the coastal bank. And then the last picture is just of the tree. This is a black walnut tree. It's a pretty tree. We really would like to not take it down, but over the last couple of years, it's had some infestation, which has gotten a lot worse. We've noticed recently. About 5 years ago, I had Bartlett Tree look at it. I haven't had them look at it recently. I will. We're just using this as an opportunity to seek your permission so that when we have an arborist tell us that it should be taken down because it's endangering the house or falling into the salt marsh, we'll do it. But again, using this more as an opportunity, it's not something we want to do immediately, but we're monitoring that tree. I've included a couple slides just from a historical perspective. So our property, we understand, was the first one that was built upon, land plan from 1927 here. Then in 1956, the property was divided in 2. Both of the houses were rented out. And then we have our existing plot plan today from our survey. I'm just going to zoom that a little bit, but if we took a little bit more time, you could look at that 1927, 1956, and today. And although those aren't detailed survey plans, they do show just the erosion. Whoops, to be careful when I zoom in that I don't change slides as I move that up for you to see. So what the surveyor has shown is what I mentioned earlier, that there was, again, we presume this was done 100 years ago, a long time ago, but when this was all presumably just land, part of the yard, this was a stone wall, and that exists. It goes all along here. But then again, there has been an erosion over time. As you saw from the pictures, just a lot of ledge here. This area maybe in better shape, but again, just over time, there's been a lot of erosion. Last year with those super king tides, we noticed there was more erosion here than the 12 years previous had been done. So again, we're just seeking to rebuild these walls. This is the patio area here, and then put that new wall here to address that erosion. Have a couple of the engineer slides just on those walls, but I thought if I could go into some detail on the construction proposal. Let me shrink that down again. But we will bring in local fieldstone. And so we just want all work to match all of the other stone work that's consistent with Cohasset, consistent the way the current property looks in character. We feel, as does the contractor, the wetland engineer, Brad Holmes, that the guest house driveway is kind of ideally situated for a staging site. It's right next to that new wall, also serves as a nice area to maneuver other materials to the rest of the yard. Charlotte and I have discussed how the work would be done to minimize any impact on the salt marsh. I think typical remediation efforts would be to put a silt sock in place, but in this case, the only way to really do that would be to put it in the marsh, which is not preferable. And we want to keep everybody out of the marsh, but also, again, contractors, Brad felt that ideally this lot works because the work can be done in the yard or bordering adjacent to the salt marsh, so that work can be done in the floodplain, staying out of the salt marsh, but doing most of the work by hand, except for the long new wall, which their recommendation is to use a mini excavator, and that would be to have that excavator on the land side and not impact the salt marsh, so that the scoop can dig that trench and not have any damage to the salt marsh. Also proposal, again, for just the least impact on the salt marsh would be to use a type 2 Portland cement for the base, and then type S mortar mix, and then the patio, again, pervious, standard construction with just sand, crushed stone, so that that also would be, I think, a better way of mitigating any impact into the marsh than we currently have even with yard. So hopefully that's a pretty quick review, and just open up to any questions, or I can even go back to the existing plot plan if you'd like to address any questions that any of the commissioners have.
Thank you for the presentation. Yeah, so the existing walls that you referred to, when were those built? Particularly the stone wall that's more kind of reinforced with mortar. Was that part of your 2013 renovation, or?
No, we believe that those walls were all done about 100 years ago, and they have been, you can see some repair, but just in terms of the construction of the wall, we know that when we had the carriage house rebuilt in 2013, that is all hand done granite block, and then the thinking was, even by the stonemasons, if you just the way the wall back here, that's what you're referring to, Chris, those are bigger stones on the bottom. That type of work was done a long time ago, so don't know when, but I would say could be 175, but unlikely even in the last 50 years that was done, particularly when the houses were done. That would have been part of the whole process. So again, we think it was 1927 timeframe when the lot was
Okay.
developed.
And the purpose of the walls is to do what? What are your walls? Did you want to use the walls to prevent further erosion of the bank to the west and north of your guest house primarily?
Yes,
that's where the new walls
and I'm
are.
gonna just flip up to the drone shot, which I think helps. So all walls protect the coastal bank, which is, the whole rear of the yard. And so this is where we're seeing the most erosion on the western side. It's the tallest and widest wall is about 5 feet tall, and again, that is protecting this component of the yard, and then these other walls are really protecting this part of the coastal bank. So it's protection and really stabilization from additional.
Is it? Would you say it's like do you get much wave energy from that side, or is it just kind of the rising tide? Do you get?
We just northeast would be looking out here. So this area gets wave energy. And so again, I believe, let's say 100 years ago when this was done, I think this wall was considerably further out got moved in over time, well before we bought the property.
Mhm.
This wall, I think, was here a long time. This area doesn't seem to get quite as much wind energy as you mentioned. This area does, though, when we get those south western storms. And so that's why these areas, I think that's why this area has had the most erosion. And then this has the most stone here, and that's protected, and has the most ledge, which has protected this area more.
I see. Yeah. Have you tried plantings for the erosion besides like grasses, anything more robust, salt resistant shrubs or anything of that nature to try to, you know,
Mhm.
prevent erosion or kind of help secure the
We
bank?
This area, there's so much ledge here, you really can't plant anything. I mean, and now we could and there are trees here, and those trees are maybe the best protection. And I think their root structure, because they're about 24 inches, that has helped stabilize that area. Again, we did plant here. There's about a 5-foot elevation, and right now, because of erosion, it's almost a vertical wall here. So we feel like those cedar trees stabilize that area. Did try to plant grasses here, but just because of the marsh area, we couldn't, or really the bank, actually, the slope of the bank would prevented us to try to do anything else. So this is,
Mhm.
so again, we haven't tried to put any type of other bushes along here. I would say that this area, when we moved in, this is all forsythia. Some other, okay, say scrub has grown up there, but that forsythia, the root structure has really helped stabilize this area. And had that not been there, I think this would be even worse. So, but when we take that out, have that wall again, I think that will stabilize this area. And that would be the best thing to do again for stabilization, is a wall rather than try to put plants, because they will just have the impact of having the soil washed away, just as has happened to date.
My hesitation is kind of based on the fact that there's not a ton of structure along this area, and when you start adding little segments of wall, that the energy, the wave energy, kind of just is, you protect your area, but it deflects downward and will cause erosion at either end. So, and we did receive comments from DEP, which notes that, you know, um, putting stones on the coastal bank is kind of a last resort. Although I suppose your house is old enough for. Charlotte, actually, would you care to share those two comments from DEP?
Sure.
Or is it?
Yeah. So with the receipt of a DEP file number, DEP had two comments. I won't read word for word, but I'll just summarize. They're asking if the stone wall was constructed on a coastal bank according to the DEP policy 92.1. This policy is how to delineate a coastal bank. I did note notice in Brad Holmes's wetland delineation memo, he did say the coastal bank had to be delineated. And then the second comment from DEP was per 310 CMR 10.33 for coastal banks, which is the performance standards references for coastal banks. Coastal engineering structures are not permittable to pre-1978 buildings when constructed on a bank. And then they were wondering if the applicant has demonstrated that no other method for protecting the building other than the proposed coastal engineering structure is feasible. So yeah, delineation of the coastal bank per that policy, and then asking about what other methods have been used, not effective, shown, not feasible, et cetera.
Right. So I would say again, the most severe erosion is right here. So again, Brad delineated that. There are existing some stones here. But what Brad Holmes said, that again, expecting this type of discussion, that I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, a choir log. Sometimes that comes into discussion. It's the coconut fibers with like a mulch material in the middle that typically has like a 3 to 5 year life. You can stack those up a little bit, but that's going to be a very temporary and not a good solution. So the engineers that we had look at the property, as well as the stonemasons, felt that the only way to address this erosion, because it has been again significant over time, and now we're encroaching very close to the house, that the stone wall would be the only fortified structure that can be built here. And again, I know it's in the coastal bank, but it's, we're staying away from the salt marsh, and it's consistent to how the rest of the property is protected.
Will, your hand's up. Do you have some comment or question?
No, I just have two questions. Do those comments from DEP apply to the same to new and existing?
Oops. Here you go.
Sorry, Will, accidentally muted you. I was trying to unmute myself.
Do they apply to replacing an existing wall and building a new wall the same? And then I can't 100% tell from these plans what is new and what is existing. So if you could just point that out. Those are my two questions.
Charlotte, you want to answer the first one about the existing and new, and then I'll.
Yeah, I can help with the first one. At least in 310 CMR 10.33, it's talking specifically about new structures. So it's saying no new bulkhead, revetment, seawall, etc. shall be permitted. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it says except, to basically protect a structure prior to August 10th, 1978, including reconstructions of such buildings subsequent. And then there's also performance standards on designing them to minimize best available measures adverse impacts on adjacent nearby coastal beaches due to changes in wave action, demonstrating that no method of protecting the building other than the proposed coastal engineering structure is feasible, and then protective planting designed to reduce erosion may be permitted. So those are the performance standards as listed in the Wetlands Protection Act. We have additional language in, I believe, Section 33 of our wetland regs about coastal engineering structures. We do mention the difference between existing versus proposed structures. So we do say they may be repaired for existing in a location similar to the existing location, but only to the original length, and if it's protecting the existing house. And then we have more stuff about that if people want me to go into it. We do say the dissipation of wave energy should be incorporated into the design without adversely increasing wave action and potential damage to adjacent properties. And then obviously we do mirror what I just summarized for new structures under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay, so, well, I guess I would, again, I'm trying to seek your approval. So I would say there's, to me, no question, these are all existing walls here. And then I could make the argument that, again, I'll call a long time ago, when this was all part of the property, and again, you can see it on this plan, there is an existing wall that was built to protect the land. And actually it stops here, but if it really goes further up to here, and you can see that if you looked at the property. So, could make the argument that we are just reconstructing an existing wall, but because the salt marsh has moved in and eroded land over time, now we're just reconstructing that wall in a different location. What other language you had mentioned in that DEP, I would say I'm very concerned as the owner of the erosion, how close we are to the house. So I believe that, we would meet that criteria to the need to have some fortified structure that is protecting the home. And then again, that protects the coastal bank as well. I think you'd mentioned something else, Chris, about concern on wave action on other aspects of the land. This is almost a little bit of a lagoon, and when we do even have a very high tide, that high tide really comes into here, and so it's I would say you could have somebody study that, but I think it's there's been no erosion at all, and the property is uniquely situated so that I think this area has borne the brunt of any storms, but there is no wave action just because the waves can't go that far. Again, it's almost like a lagoon area. So I think there has, to my knowledge, never been any erosion. And I would say Gammons Road, again, built 1927. That road you can see it right next to the salt marsh. It's within 50. The whole road is in 50 feet within 50 in the salt marsh almost. And so I think there is zero risk of having any type of a wave action impacting other than what we're trying to address right here along our property. I maybe just would ask another question too, if I may. Charlotte, we had talked about 94 North Main Street, which had the commissioners recently you approved that. I believe that construction was done, but my understanding was that we're relatively similar. I guess in my mind, this work is even better than what they are doing in terms of protecting their marsh, because again, we can do all the work above the salt marsh and in the coastal bank, and it also is a stabilization effort. So Charlotte, do you see any correlation between the discussion on 94 North Main and what we're seeking here? Because that was also an existing wall that was got the commission's approval recently.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, do you want me to summarize that it's another project. It's not on, previously approved, recent project at 94 North Main Street.
Sure. I don't know.
Okay.
I voted no for that project.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Andy, as we discussed, there was a notice of intent that was submitted and approved for 94 North Main Street. There was a coastal bank marsh and that was eroding. Basically the applicant had, similar to what you were describing, had tried to revegetate the area, only he did use more like, woody shrubs and stuff. I don't know about grasses, but he did not have success planting those, at least at the toe of the slope. The upper end of the slope was okay, but he tried putting in filter fabric and that didn't work. And so he had proposed a new wall. I think in terms of some of the commission's similar concerns at the time for this project were similar to what we seem to be discussing tonight in terms of alternatives and how you're going to do the work and storm damage and wave action. We were concerned with that project about the dissipation of wave action and energy and what the wall would do to that. And I believe Brad Holmes was involved in incorporating some plantings. I'd have to pull up the plan to see, but it did involve a little bit of planting work, but it did not substitute for the construction of the wall. So the construction of the wall was approved to stabilize that bank through a variance granted by the commission.
Yes, and again, thank you for that summary. And I would that helps, I guess, argue or what I think that would request that the similarity between what the commission did approve there. But and again, having talked to Brad about this project, I also have inspected 94 Main. I know what they did in terms of trying for plantings. They had a much longer, wider area of the toe. And in this case, you can see there's very steep toe here. We did, again, about a dozen years ago, 12 years ago, plant these 6 trees to stabilize that area. Below it is too steep to try to do anything. And so, we couldn't. And so I think, and Brad also said that, there's just not enough space here to do anything. So I think that would at least say, again, maybe the commission had concerns, but did make the approval. And I would say that to me, you've set precedent for what we're seeking to do as well, which again is a similar type of project. And we also tried similar ways to mitigate that erosion. And I do believe, though, that the difference in this project, that we can have our wall constructed in a manner that will be much less detrimental to the coastal bank and to the salt marsh than 94 North Main, just because most of their work, they had to work in the salt marsh to do the construction, whereas we can use our driveway and the land to then work above, outside of the salt marsh to do the work. And that would be the same way with the existing walls here.
Okay. Other commissioners? Comments, questions? Steve?
I think that the other wall was actually a shorter wall as well.
It was about you mean 94? Is that what you mean,
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah,
About the same, actually. So this is 90 feet is what we're proposing. I think theirs was 80. We could look that up. So about the same.
it was, I think the height was a bit shorter. Also, their marsh came in very, very close. Looking at the
There was
aerial
a
photos,
steeper slope, and they
Yeah, it's very
faced, I
steep.
believe that property faces pretty northeast, which is, bearing more of the brunt.
Not so much, actually, because the other part of Rice Island, actually, which is again this upside down version, but it would be, if we're again looking south, that actually helps protect that area. And so I think that they maybe don't have is quite as much. But and I guess again, from my vantage point, again, it is a less of a slope.
Anything else, Steve? Questions?
I guess the other question I had was the existing walls that are in very bad shape, will they be reconstructed using the same stone, or you're going to take that out and bring in something completely different?
It would be mixed. So Steve, the proposal about 20 tons of local stone, and that would be mixed in with the existing stone, and so they will just use what's there and add to it and mix it in so that it looks like a uniform wall, very similar to what's this wall right here appearances. So same, but just using the same stone plus some existing one.
These are
Plus
the
some
ones, these are the ones you're reconstructing.
Yes, so the reconstructed wall, again, adding some new stone and using existing stone. It's a combination of both.
It'll be in the same style, same kind of vertical.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes, the current ones are more of a riprap kind of than a wall.
I know it looks a little bit like a riprap, and that's just because it was how it was piled up. But you can see the mortar in there. One time, those walls, I have to believe, were similar to this, and just again before we moved in, I know actually when we did move in shortly after this, we had a contractor just is part of that NOI just to stack this, but it is a little more vertical than maybe what you saw in the picture. But the idea would be to have them all be consistent to look like that wall that is maybe in the best shape.
And the other question I have was, in your proposed plot plan, you referred to the patio as being expanded. And it didn't look like that, but
Yes, and that's a little bit expanded. So this is a current patio area. Now, we had to move because of erosion. This patio, one time, we believe the stones did go out to the wall. Because of the erosion, we had to remove those stones just because it was sloping down. We couldn't put a table there. But the wall has already been there. So the plan is to have the stone go all the way out to the wall, so that if this is the existing stones, then the new patio would go all the way out to the wall. So then the patio would go from this wall all the way to the new wall, the rebuilt wall.
So you'd be changing the grade there as well.
Yes, getting it back to, I think what it originally was, level, yes. And just filling in what again, just because there's a bit of a slope here that just due to erosion, it would be to fill that back in to be level. So there is fill that would have to plan to bring in to backfill behind the walls once they're done. Again, stabilizing the marsh. It's just as behind those trees, there's erosion here, so just fill behind those trees when those walls are done.
I think that's all the questions I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom, any questions or comments?
Yeah, the first thing I'd say is I've been looking back and forth on Nearmap to see how much erosion there actually has been on that northwest facing area that we talked most about. And I don't see any evidence that there's been any erosion of the salt marsh between 2014 and today, or basically this year. The same edge of marsh. If you look at the mud bank hasn't eroded at all, basically, in 11 years, which is kind of remarkable because we're losing mud bank all over the place in all of our coastal areas. But for some reason, that mud bank has been pretty stable. So I really wonder about the wave erosion there. If that's kind of the first thing to go is that mud bank, and it's clearly stable. Somebody drew a line, 120-foot line there on our Nearmap image. Was that you, Charlotte?
That was me.
Oh, that was you. Okay. So if you use that as a reference and then accounting for the fact that some of those images aren't exactly georeferenced, you can still see that there's really been no detectable erosion in that site. Now, that's not to say that the hillside, that the coastal bank itself hasn't been eroding, but certainly if it's been eroding, it hasn't been by wave action. It doesn't look like to me. I'd also point out that over on North Main, which I did approve, and I think it was a good idea there, and perhaps it'd be a good idea here, but it was only 24 inches high. So if there is a precedent set by that, it was set at the very minimum height that was necessary to prevent wave erosion. And if there is wave erosion here, I think 24 inches is probably what we should be talking about. I don't know what height you've proposed for this wall.
Okay. Tom, you mentioned a 2014 map, but I'm not sure I know what you mean by that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we have a series of historic photographs, aerial photographs, highly detailed for the most part, that run from 2014 to, or I think the most recent one is July 30th of 2025. So we can look back in time to see 11 years anyway. It'd be nice to be able to look back farther, but we can't. But certainly in the last 11 years, it does not look like there's been any erosion of the mud bank.
Okay, and the mud bank.
The mud bank is the very outer edge before you get out into the sand or the mud.
Out here.
No, farther out.
Out here. No, sorry.
I don't think I could. Oh yeah, hang on. Maybe I can draw on this.
I think you can. Yeah.
Okay, the mud bank is somewhere in this area here. See, I got to move you guys, but it's Charlotte, can you put up the?
Yeah. Well, if
map
actually, I thought I understood just conceptually what a mud bank would be, but I agree that this mud bank I think has been fairly stable, and but this is where all the erosion is, and again you can see just the plot lines. This is about a 5 feet elevation difference between, and only a few feet change. So if you looked at this, it's just basically a vertical dirt wall almost right here, and that is for whatever way the salt marsh works. I think the mud bank again is very low. We have some of that mud bank way down here, and that just because it's low elevation. I think when we do have the tides, they say they're 6, 7, we have the 10 feet and more. I think it was 11 feet, the Super King. The mud bank is all completely covered. So the wave action is above the mud bank and that it's causing the erosion here. So in terms of the footage, this area would be the highest because the land here, just pure elevation, it's again, this elevation, if the wall is almost 4 feet, will slope down. And then this wall starts at 4, but very, very quickly it can go down to almost nothing here. So I would say it starts from 0 and then moves maybe right here. It could be below 2 feet. So it's really this area right here is the highest, and then we'll slope down, maybe get to about 3 feet here, another 10 feet up down to 2. So it's a gradual just slope in because the land elevation is going up here. So again, so I was saying before, I think that.
Can we get back to the specifications for your wall instead of speculation here?
Okay.
How high are you proposing to build the wall?
So
not those walls, back on the northwest side.
Yeah, just
I don't
these
really
ones.
have
So
any-
yeah, I was just trying to find we put on the, oops.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
when I zoom out, then it gets very sensitive on the, so let me just go down here. So the walls will be a varying height. The highest part of the wall will be right here at 4 feet, and then slope down, and then we have that. I think it just says 47 inches, the highest, and slope down to, again, this is 0 here, 0 elevation, and then up to 47. I think on the actual request, I think we said anywhere from 2 feet to 4 feet. Oops. Try one more time. Again, it's a sensitive mouse if I try to move too quickly. But I'm just trying to pull up that little breakout where we have the height of the walls. And I mean, that's the answer again, 0 to 47 inches or 0 to 4 feet.
Okay, so again, what we did on North Main, or what that applicant did at North Main, was to follow a single contour. Your crossing contour is here. So it's climbing for some reason. I don't quite understand why it's climbing up the hill, but it is. He stayed at the same contour, and he tied his wall into the top of his wall into the same elevation as was necessary to prevent any wave action from eroding his coastal bank. And so clearly that's part of that was certainly an issue when we were discussing it, is to keep the wall low, to tie to both ends of it to a constant elevation. The idea here was not a decorative wall. It was not a piece of landscape.
I agree.
It was strictly a measure taken to prevent further erosion of the coastal bank.
Yes. Yep. Completely agreed. And you articulated that well in terms of using that elevation line. And I would say, again, if we're just comparing the two properties, that was level all the way across. So this would be the highest part of the wall because just the way the land is and the way this house is, we have to protect the house. And so, but this is the highest part of the wall. The wall slopes down here to 0. This would be 0, goes up to 4, and then from 4 down to 0. And that again is, I'll just show, I think I have the.
Clarify what the black line is versus the blue dotted line.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I do apologize. I'm about to take off on a flight. I've got to drop. I do apologize.
Okay, Sanjay, thank you.
Thanks.
So the blue is the edge of the salt marsh, and then the black is to show the wall that's just adjacent to the salt marsh.
So your black line at the south end of it is climbing across. I don't know what those contour intervals are. Are they 2 feet or what?
No, they're a foot.
1 foot.
Again, I'll
okay.
try to
So it looks
zoom
like
in.
it's climbing at least 3 feet on its south end. And I don't understand what the purpose of that, what that purpose.
But he's
has.
saying it's getting shorter, so the top of the wall is staying the same elevation.
So okay, he didn't say that. You did, Will. Please clarify, is the top of the wall at a constant elevation?
I would say that in terms of an elevation, yes, and so that elevation comes up, but by the way the land slopes up, then it would, the wall would basically blend into the land that is sloping up. That would be how I would articulate it, maybe in a non-professional way, but
Yeah.
is it?
I don't understand quite how that works, but I would
Okay.
say that it needs to be at a constant elevation, top of your wall.
Right, and I agree.
Whether it's 3 feet or 4 feet,
yeah,
whatever it is, it needs to be at a constant elevation.
we're complete agreement, and if I could just, I want to go back to a picture.
I don't agree with that, because if it contours to the land, the top of the wall has to maintain the same elevation, not the same height off of the ground.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
The
Yeah,
I think
elevation.
we're all saying the
I'm
same
not
thing.
talking
Yeah.
about,
Okay.
I'm not talking about the height of the wall in this case. I'm talking about the elevation of the top of the wall.
Yeah, the elevation above sea level, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If we,
Yeah, okay, got it.
I think,
That's the only thing that makes sense, really. We're trying to protect the the applicant's trying to protect the coastal bank from further erosion. If there's been any that's taken place at all, I haven't seen any evidence that it's actually eroding.
I think Charlotte, if you could, you've walked our property earlier this week. I think you could talk to
Well,
the commission.
I want to weigh in on that, because up until you pointed out the specific area that was eroding, I was with Tom that I didn't see anything at all and didn't support a new wall over here. But when you look at near map from 2014 and 15, 16 to today, right at that corner of the house, you can see, based on the shadows, that specific area is eroded, the coastal bank, not out in the mud flat or whatever.
Exactly. Well, and
let's take a look at that.
Yeah.
Yep. But if this picture right here helps, and again, I can zoom that, but just so we're all agreement. But again, we have the elevation of the driveway, and again, it's a flat driveway. You can see how, if this is the wall, if the elevation of this wall stays the same, then the wall itself will increase in its height when it's the same elevation, just because the way the land, again, the elevation
We're talking about the top.
decreases as you go
We're
up.
talking about the top of the wall, not the foundation of the wall necessarily.
Yes. Oh, no, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So the top of the wall.
So we need to establish what that elevation needs to be. We were able to do that pretty well, I think, on North Main.
Mhm.
And then determine what elevation the top of the wall needs to be. In this case, it's not entirely clear to me what elevation we're talking about.
Yeah, I can get back to you again. We're just conferring with our surveyor, but I would say the elevation would be right at that point of most erosion, and that would, whatever that elevation is, that's what would be the elevation of the wall, and
Well,
that
from
elevation will
lots of
stay.
things, you're going to put a wall that's, I don't know, from this picture, it's hard to tell, but several feet above the marsh at least. You're going to put the wall at the top of the coastal bank?
Well, this picture again, this kind of helps to show it as well. So you can see just the way the land, here's the marsh.
I'm going to interrupt for just a second.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
One of the things that helped me, and I think other commissioners understand the situation much better, was for us to go out and take a look.
Yeah. I would agree.
And
um,
I don't think we should consider discussing it a lot more until we've actually had a look, so we can understand what we're looking at. And we should be there with your engineer. Have you
Thank you.
engaged a coastal engineer for this?
Brad Holmes
Brad
was our
Holmes isn't a-
wetland scientist. Yeah.
Brad Holmes isn't a coastal engineer.
I've not, and I've talked with Brendan Sullivan. He's a professional engineer. I don't know if he's a certified coastal engineer.
Well, I'm sure Brandon would be just fine. So I think we should be out there with the engineer, and he can explain what's to be built and how. Because we're sort of going around in circles here. And part of it is mainly misunderstanding what the other people are saying. So I think first of all, we should take a look out there.
Okay.
That'd serve everybody's well, I think.
Okay, and then
let's just, before we decide on what next step, let's move through the rest of the commission for comments and circle back to that if we may. Kathy, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't.
Okay. I just want to point out, in regards to setting precedent and the 94 North Main Street project, that we look at each of these individually. That and in that project, there was clear demonstration that they had tried plantings over the years, multiple times, different types of plantings. And that I for one, as one commissioner, would be interested in looking at alternatives prior to going with a new wall. I think we can discuss refurbishing existing walls, but in this area, I have concern about adding new wall. And I would be very interested in considering alternatives, including, besides just putting mat down, considering additional plantings, that ecological restoration of plants, which can, help mitigate that, or, just, the professionals can look at alternatives, but that's my view on this. And I think a site visit would benefit the commission, as well.
very good. I look forward to hosting you, and Charlotte, I'd coordinate with you to set that up. Is that what we should do? The next
Yes.
step?
Sorry, I just did every commissioner have their comments yet, or?
No,
I know,
I
sorry.
only had one last thing that it would be helpful to everyone. I think if you just detail the wall a little better to show the elevation of the top of the wall. Maybe put a couple sections through to show that it's 4 feet here, it's 2 feet here, it's 1 foot here, something like that your engineer could add.
I'll do that. Well, and that's my key takeaway to again, I think the key discussion is the elevation of the wall, and any way we could even.
We normally require an engineer to do this, and it needs to be signed and sealed by a professional engineer. All of these plans.
I think you have
Homeowner
the
is an
site.
engineer, then
The
great.
site-wide plan is good. If you zoom in on that, I think that's where our focus is primarily tonight. That's our main focus. So maybe just focusing on that area for your plan, and getting into some detail with some, some cross sections of what the wall would look like, and length and width, all that good stuff.
Correct. So again, we'll just focus on the new wall and not have any more discussion on the existing walls. Is that
Well, I
right?
think
I-
after we've been
Or
out
you
there, and
want all
had a look,
just-
we want to see it all.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure I know what we do.
I think that's the yes, we'll look at it as a whole, but those being existing, I and this being new, that's our primary focus at this
Mhm.
point. I think
Okay.
we can discuss the other aspects of what you're proposing. I'm not in favor of tree removal in the resource area unless there's, clear danger of that the trees, is gonna fall. And typically we even, unless it's right next to a house, which it is in this case, we wouldn't even want a dead tree to be removed. That's been our kind of our stance. However, obviously in this case it is next to your guest house, so safety would be a consideration, but we definitely want input from an arborist on that before we and we would also look for, a replacement planting, usually at least 2 to 1 in the resource area. So, if we want to go through the other aspects of what you're proposing, we can look at that as well. But I think a site plan would be a site visit,
Okay.
would be beneficial to all.
And I'll seek to have an arborist opinion on the tree prior to that site visit as well. And I think when you see that tree, you can make your own judgment on that condition of it.
I have one more question, which
Yeah.
I think Tom alluded to, but you got kind of went off into elevations, and the question is, why does the wall not follow the coastal bank at that end? If you have it rising up above the coastal bank, then just exposing the part below it to more erosion.
I guess I don't fully understand your question, but the wall does follow the salt marsh or the coastal bank, and it would again.
I thought that the blue line was the flagged coastal line.
It is, and I see,
And
in that case,
and
we
the
felt
wall,
like we.
and the wall diverges from that at the south end.
Yes, it was
It
more
diverges
just
from
the
that south end by
con.
3 feet. And, obviously then you just opened up that section of the coastal bank to continued erosion.
If we could absolutely, Steve, if that's the way you'd like us to have that done, we can again have the engineer draw that so it does just follow the contour of the coastal bank, and then again have that same elevation of that point that we're discussing right here all the way down. So the proposed wall would be elevation right here, and then coastal bank all the way down, so that it doesn't, in this case, we just followed the driveway as opposed to that last little bit that you mentioned, but we'll change that.
So also before we go out there, you should have your wetlands flags up, your buffer flags up, and the proposed location of the wall flagged as well, surveyed in. We want to be sure we know what we're looking at.
Yes, those, again, Charlotte would say those, some of what you mentioned, but we'll make sure we have the right coding so that there's no question what you're looking at, and with the engineer, so that we can have that fully educated discussion.
Oh, and
That's what we
Andy,
informed
just
us of.
want to clarify for the site visit, it's mostly just kind of like a show and tell, but no discussion, because it's not a, unless you are willing
Right.
to make the site visit public. Usually these are just, the commissioners just go to look, they can ask questions, but they cannot deliberate on site. The deliberation would happen at the following meeting with an agenda.
Sure, understood, yeah.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, just a quick point, Steve, I know you mentioned the blue line on the site plan. That's actually the salt marsh delineation. I don't believe Brad delineated the coastal bank, but he did reference that it needed to be delineated in his wetland delineation memo.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, ordinarily that's done by the engineer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that would be something that Brendan would do.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before we continue?
Kathy, I forget, did you have any more questions?
Actually, yes, I have one. Mr. Wise, how close does the water come to this cottage, to this guest house?
Mhm.
What's the closest point? It's difficult to look at it and tell.
Yes, and I'm just gonna look, if I go slowly, I slip to, so during those super king tides, that the water will just come up to, and again, this is what's happening with the erosion. That's why the erosion is there. The water will come up just right along where the edge of the salt marsh is. I can tell you that during that super king tide, again, this is what's helpful to talk about elevations, understand your point there. So if we looked at this elevation line right here, I've seen that water come right along that same elevation. So it's actually completely covers this wall and then kind of follows that elevation line around there, if that's helpful. But but again, in terms of the guest house, right up to the where that's why the erosion is happening, because of water right up to that point. And then the same thing, if we follow that elevation line up here, you see where the top of it would go away.
And approximately how many feet from that cottage is the closest point of the water to that cottage? Approximately, just
I would say it's about 10 feet maybe from the corner, could be 12. Well, maybe less than 15 feet. How about that?
Okay.
But
Okay.
again, the key thing is just it's really the protected. There's such a high elevation difference between the coastal bank, and you can see that just with a plot line. So that what is now a dirt wall is really protecting that house.
Okay, thank you.
You'll see that in a site visit, Kathy, if you're part of that.
Okay.
It'll be very
Okay.
clear when you see that area, the erosion has happened.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then our next hearing, if you're okay to continue and.
Yes, please, Chris.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for all the good discussion and dialogue, and we'll come back with what's requested.
I think, do we have room on well, the 25th has to move, right? Is that the 25th
Yeah,
meeting
so
is
we
to
did
move?
tweak our next meeting to Tuesday, September 23rd. Andy, would that work for you if we were to schedule a site visit next week? Just be mindful that usually revised documents are needed a week in advance, so I know that's kind of tight because it would have to be by next Tuesday to receive those revised documents. So I don't know if that's enough time. If you prefer the next meeting, that would be October 9th, and that's back on a Thursday.
I prefer that. I'll be traveling with all next week, and I don't
Okay.
think, even if I were here, I
Okay.
don't think I could do it that
That's-
quickly.
yeah.
But October the 9th, if that's all right, that would be
Okay.
my request.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Great then. So then we'll continue to October 9th.
Great. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Welcome.
You too. Thank you. Thank you to commissioners. Thank you, Charlotte.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you. Next up, we have amended NOI 24-14. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Cohasset Wetlands Bylaw, and the Cohasset Stormwater Bylaw, the Cohasset Conservation Commission will hold a remote public hearing via Zoom webinar on Thursday, September 11th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. for amended notice of intent 24-14 to add utilities underneath the proposed 12-foot gravel driveway found within resource areas and buffer zones for Charles Higginson at 32 Lothrop Lane. The public is invited to offer input by attending meeting or emailing cpectel@cohassetmass.gov.
Hey, Brendan.
Good evening. For the record, Brendan Sullivan, Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors, here representing the owners and applicants, Charlie and Geneva Higginson of 32 Lothrop Lane. So this was a plan that was approved last year, last August or so. for a gravel driveway and some mitigation areas off of Lothrop Lane to access a proposed dwelling. So, I mean, during that time frame, there was some, the Higginsons weren't exactly sure where they're gonna quote unquote end up. So they ended up with the purchase option of this lot, selling the main house. And so now they're proposing to build a house for themselves on the upper portion, the rear portion, the buildable portion of the lot. Still going through the phases of selecting a footprint and a layout and all that. So in the meantime, they want to put the utilities in the driveway. So what we're proposing is proposed in red. We have a sewer, underground and telephone electric cable, and a water line coming from the utilities that exist in Lothrop Lane, and coming down coming down the proposed gravel drive, and ending up approximately where the new house will be located. So as I said, this project was approved before. We're not changing any grades at all from what was proposed before. None of the mitigation areas. Really just adding the utilities. I know there's been a few comments about the traffic on Lothrop Lane. Two of the major comments are the traffic on Lothrop Lane and the integrity. There's a drainage pipe, if you remember, that drains from waters that come from basically over by the end of Hobart Lane, and drains through the adjacent property, discharges onto this property and into a swale, and then gets collected down in another pipe which goes out to the beach. So the integrity of that pipe, we've added a note from before that it will be inspected and or repaired or replaced as necessary. So that will be the same scenario for the construction of the utilities. Most likely a portion of it might have to be replaced because utilities will probably have to go underneath it. The invert of the pipe is approximately elevation 5. So the top of the pipe is probably elevation 6. We're talking about a grade here, about 8.5 finished grade. So we're only about 2.5 feet of cover over the pipe. Really not enough to put in a water or sewer line. So portions of this pipe will most likely have to be replaced unless we can sleeve underneath it some way. So that's it for the pipe. As far as Lothrop Lane, I mean the Higginsons, they're the longest tenured people in this neighborhood, I'm sure. Charlie's grandfather actually owned the house across the street. So they're very familiar with Lothrop Lane and the traffic and the narrowness of the road. That'll be kept in mind, certainly as it was during this discussion for the approval of the gravel driveway, that the lane won't be blocked at all or anything. And actually the construction of the gravel driveway will provide access and parking for the vehicles for when they construct their home to the rear of the lot. So with that, I bounce it back to the commission for comments.
Thank you, Brendan. Charlotte, let's start with your initial comments and concerns that you had, if you would.
Yeah, so this is, as Brendan mentioned, it's an amended notice of intent to add the proposed utilities, so not to reopen discussions on the gravel driveway that was already approved. The proposed home that's shown on the plans, just a quick note, that is to be permitted in the future at a later date. There is also an order of conditions with a special condition that the house on the plan as shown is acknowledged, but it's not approved under this order, and it needs further permitting. So for this, my main comment, and I did talk to Brendan about this, and I know some abutters also had similar comments, would just be the construction. Well, this was one of the abutter comments, but construction, with the digging of the trenches, what the depth would be for the utilities in regards to the existing drainage pipe. Brendan, I don't know if anybody has done any sort of pre-construction analysis of the drainage pipe yet, but that is a condition that's already in the order of conditions. We can revise the language as we see fit if the commission votes to issue an amended permit. So I guess there were definitely some concerns on my end and on the abutters end with where the location of the trenches is going to go within the existing driveway in regards to the existing drainage pipe, how to protect that pipe, and what would happen, obviously, if we needed to fix it or, move it or adjust where the utilities go in regards to where it is. I think there were also some other comments from abutters about the existing right-of-way easement that you can see on I think it's a 5-foot wide easement, just to leave that undisturbed during construction. I can modify the conditions to make that clear, but we do have conditions, I believe, and if not, I may have written it to stake out the limit of work to make sure that that isn't going to be impacted, but that is a pretty standard practice for us to inspect the limit of work prior to construction so that we can make sure that those barriers are in the right place. I think that was it on my end, but I do know that some questions last minute did come up about alternatives, if there's any way to reroute utilities elsewhere so that it doesn't have to go underneath the driveway and around the drainage pipe or under the drainage pipe. So I don't know, Brendan, if you've considered those, but that was kind of some last minute thoughts that came up.
No, we didn't consider any other options for the utilities. That just kind of makes the most sense. The other options were, would mean maybe I don't know, we'd be going into the swale. I mean, that might be more destructive than going into the pipe. Like I said, my guess is most likely a portion of that pipe is probably going to have to be replaced, which would probably be a good thing, which would be, back to where the utilities are, to the outlet, which is in the drainage, which is in the swale, which is, maybe, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 feet at the most. But we haven't thought about any other options for the location of the utilities.
There was also kind of a comment concern, one of those butter letters about the project segmentation, how it's been kind of piecemealed, which I'll just say that, we get a notice of intent for, for one thing at a time, and I guess we can't really do anything about that. We don't like it ourselves a lot of the time, but it is what it is. So
no, we understand that, Chris, and if the house itself needed a notice of intent, I would have told the Higginsons to probably hold off and do everything all at once. But the house itself is outside of the conservation's jurisdiction, other than stormwater. And so initially it was, well, let's just ask Charlotte about putting utilities in the road in the gravel drive. And then it came back to, being a modification of the original order, as opposed to just, an administrative,
understood.
approval.
Yeah,
So
no, I'm just kind of
that's just-
responding to that.
Sure. Understood.
Okay. So let's go through the commission. Steve, any comments, concerns, or questions about this amendment?
I
Proposed
was
amendment?
just wondering how much additional work will be done in order to put in these subsurface services. I knew of course, water has to be quite deep, and the other two not so much. So I was wondering if that'll affect the construction practices at all.
Yeah, how deep are we talking? What's this trench gonna look like for these utilities?
So typically for a water line, you want 5 feet of cover for a service to prevent freezing. We might be able to get shallower with the insulated pipe, but typically the water department likes a 5-foot cover over the pipe. That's as well as the sewer is more or less the same, the 5 foot, because just to prevent the freezing of it. Water main, you might be able to get a little bit shallower in cover because it's a bigger pipe and there's usually good flow through it. But with a service like this, you're only talking about, an inch and a half service. That's a very small pipe, and it's more susceptible to freezing than a 12-inch water main. So typically we're looking for a 5+ foot trench for these services.
Do you
And
know what's underneath there?
no, we do not.
And so to get 5 feet down for these utilities, what's your depth? Like, what are we looking at for like a trench? And where does it, will that come out right to the street, or will it have to go into the street? And how long you're gonna have to go up into the street to make the connection, right?
Yes, we'll have to go to the street to make a connection. I believe the sewer is on the opposite side of the street, so there will be some crossing connection there. So we will have to go into the street somewhat to connect to both the water and the sewer. Telephone electric cable, I believe there's a utility pole, off the plan up in this area here, so I'm not sure if we'll maybe utility pole at the end of the street, end of the property here, and then go up and go overhead from there, or go subsurface from there. I'm not quite sure at this point.
All right. Steve, does that answer your question? Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I think this is gravity sewer as opposed to pumped sewer like we got.
Nope, this will be an E1 grinder pump. It's all pressure sewer down in this area.
Okay, so it's not a 12-inch pipe.
No.
And so none of these trenches will be particularly wide.
No, and the service we were talking about, like I said, it's a 1-inch pipe really, for both services. I mean, I think the sewer might be 1.5 inches. I think there's a 2-inch service out in Lothrop Lane now. So they're small pipes. It's not a 6 or 8-inch diameter pipe.
All right. What's the duration like? And you're just gonna keep you're gonna backfill with other material or bring in sand over that, or what are we
We'll
doing?
probably have to bring in the requirement around the sewer and water services to have a sand around those, just to prevent rocks or stones from getting up against the pipe and dinging it into making a break or something. So there will be some sand brought in for the bottom of the hole where the utilities located. And yeah, it'll be cut and cover per day. The trenches won't be left open. The utilities for the most part will be within the proposed gravel driveway area, so we're not really expanding the excavation all that much.
Yeah. And this will be done in conjunction with the driveway construction, or is the driveway in, or where are we at with the driveway?
No, it'll be done. The driveway and the utilities will be done at the same time. So they'll hire one contractor to come in and do the whole thing, soup to nuts. Get the utilities in there. And then maybe by that point, maybe before that point, we'll have a final house design and we'll be in front of you guys for a stormwater permit for the house.
So it's gonna be gravel driveway and so what kind of excavator are we talking? Just
You don't need a really big machine. I'm assuming there's we've done test pits over by Hobart Lane and whatnot, and most of it is sand and gravel out there, mostly beach sand. So you don't need a big excavator for this. I mean, a rubber tire backhoe could probably take care of this, no problem.
Okay. All right. Tom, do you have any questions or comments?
Brendan, is there any exposed bedrock in the neighborhood?
In the neighborhood, yeah, when there's exposed bedrock on the lot itself,
Yeah.
out in front and up at the higher elevations. Down in the lower elevations, there really isn't much of any. I mean, obviously, there's ledge outcrops up by the
Yeah.
beach and the seacoast.
So you really can't assume that it's all going to be easy digging.
No, we could run into boulders or ledge, and if we have to either, like I said, and then we'll make a decision whether we either have to chip it or insulate the pipe. It matters what the depth is at that point.
Yeah. And is it feasible to, does it meet code if you could put the electrical service in the same trench as the water?
I don't think the water turbine usually doesn't like anything over the water service in case it breaks.
Yeah.
And now you got to dig up the conduit as well as the water. I mean the electrical service is a shallow dig. That's only 2 or 3 feet down, as opposed to you don't need frost protection for that.
Yeah.
But typically the utilities don't like other utilities in the same trench or in the same one on top of the other per se.
No, I didn't have any further questions.
Okay, Kathy?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks. Will, any questions, comments?
No questions. I think this plan adequately addresses any adverse impact to the wetlands, and I would support it.
Okay. Charlotte, any additional kind of comments? Do you have any conditions to upgrade based on what this amendment is proposing?
Yes, just a quick check-in though. I don't see anybody else raising their hand in the audience. I don't know if anyone has questions. I don't see anything in the chat. I can go through those so we can keep an eye on it. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
This drain pipe, Lucille Harnbury of 36 Lothrop Lane says this drain pipe is not deep if it is within 5 feet or less. I think it's less than 5 feet deep. I think that's what she meant.
Sure. The drain pipe that crosses the driveway, the existing,
Yes.
is that?
Yeah, so this drain pipe right here, there's the drain pipe. It's a 10-inch pipe. The inverse about 4.92, so call it 5 feet. So the top of the pipe, so the top of the pipe is probably about elevation 6. You know, we have elevation 8 and 9, so it's about 8.5. So we realize the top of the pipe is there's only about 2.5 feet of cover over it right now. So
Yeah.
we know that's less than 5 feet.
And you've acknowledged that you're gonna have to do something about that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So whatever happens, that the pipe is gonna be in better condition after, would you say?
Yes, most likely. Yep, absolutely.
Do you think that pipe's adequate? The diameter of the pipe, the existing pipe is adequate for the size of the drainage above it?
It might be adequate. It's just a matter of how clean it is, you know. I mean, as you can see, there's the word submerged here, so it is usually submerged. You gotta dig down to get to the invert of the pipe.
Yeah.
Because this trench usually gets mucked in or filled in. There's constantly water. You know, I mean, this pipe is only at elevation 5, so at a moon tide, the seawater does come up into here. You know, so you get brackish, you get fresh water from, you know, or heavy rain from Hobart. You get leaves and everything else. I don't think it's really I mean, you could put a 36-inch pipe there. It's not going to alleviate the problem over at Hobart Lane. You know, so I don't think it's the size of the pipe. It's just the maintenance of the swale and the inlets and outlets of the entire system. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it seems to me that there was some issue, I could be mistaken, but some issue of flooding on the north end of this pipe. There's another house over there and it doesn't, I realize the gradient's extremely low here. I mean, you're almost at sea level and that it is tidal at times on high tide. So I just wondered if, you know, if you're going to have to replace the pipe, whether it would be wise to maybe oversize it a bit. That'd help.
Yeah, we could look at. I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, not too many places make a 10-inch pipe. I mean, it might go to, you know, maybe we do a 10-inch, you know, cast iron water main piece in there instead of the, you know, that might give you some better flows. You know, that most likely might be the solution for that, as opposed to a, you know, class 5 concrete pipe. The steel water main pipe might be, you know, better suited for that.
What's the advantage of that over concrete?
Well, you don't have as much, you know, you have a little bit more cover. It's a shallower, you know, the thickness of the pipe, the thickness of a class 5 concrete pipe is about 2.5, 3 inches. You know, where a steel water main pipe is only.
Oh, I see. So the inner diameter is greater, is what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Brendan. Charlotte, there are a couple more
Yep.
questions.
Yeah, I'll read them in order and also by person. How can it cross this 5-foot deep trench? I believe that means in terms of the utilities, or how can
So I
the
think
pipe
that's been
cross the
addressed.
5-foot trench?
They're
Sorry.
gonna have to disrupt the pipe temporarily
Yeah.
and it'll be repaired and replaced or
Okay.
that section at least will be repaired, correct, Brendan? That's the answer.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then, sorry, I know their addresses, so I'm just gonna go through that just instead of asking them to clarify. So, Tony Catlin of 7 and 17 Lothrop Lane asked, when is construction going to happen? And can abutters be notified in advance of that? Thank you.
I mean, construction will start if, once we get the new orders of conditions, we'll start right away because we want to, try and get it done, this fall. So, it could start as soon as October, November. And we could certainly let abutters know when construction is starting.
Okay, would, Ginevra and Charlie, feel free to jump in here, but would you be open to a condition for that to notify abutters prior to construction? Can defer to preference on the delivery method, but
Yes, notice is fine. Thank you.
okay.
Okay.
And the last comment, Lucille Hornby, 36 Lothrop Lane, the gradient is important, I think, in terms of the drainage pipe. Brendan, not sure if you had anything else to add for that. I believe you said it would be restored to existing conditions. The gradient would not be changed with the installation of the utilities and replacement of the pipe as needed.
Exactly, yes. We'll put it in the same line and grades.
Okay. Okay. I think
Great.
that's it for questions so far. If I see any pop up, I can, oh, sorry, Steve.
Oops, sorry. Push the wrong button.
You're raising your hand. Okay.
I was just trying to close the question Q&A thing I had open.
Got it.
Thank you. So, Charlotte, I think you'll address this in your proposed conditions, but I think, obviously with earthwork, this is my only concern. My condition would just be, and this is addressed typically in our standard conditions, but just the erosion controls, sedimentation controls, covering the stockpile, that sort of thing. But I'll let you go through.
All right, you mean in terms of like construction management?
Yeah, the trenching and the soil management, like the earthwork that's going to happen for these utilities.
Yes, we have standard conditions about, just erosion control, keeping sites clean, staging, stockpiling. I don't know, I'd have to double check our template if we have anything specific on soil management, but I can add that. It's also, Brendan, I don't know if you have that on the site plans already for soil, stockpiling, staging, equipment, all that.
We just specify a location of the staging and stockpiling area. I mean, if you want to put a condition in there that, when it's stockpiling with soil, it needs to be, encompassed by additional siltation than what's shown on the plan, then that's fine. But like I said, I think most of this will be cut and cover per day. So
yeah,
it's be a small enough trench where there's not gonna be piles of dirt everywhere at the end of the day.
It'll be small, but you're replacing with sand, so there'll be some spoils, of course. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. Good. Charlotte, are you ready with your conditions or?
Yes, hold on. Sorry, I just gotta change the view so you guys can see the changes that I made. And Brendan, I'll take over. Thank you. Okay. So from 55 downward, these are the conditions that were proposed under the original order of conditions for the gravel driveway. So we had, as you can see, a handful of conditions already prepared for the existing drainage pipe. So I won't read them word for word. You guys can read them as I go along. I'll just read the edits in red that I made in regards to the amended NOI request. So for 55C, in terms of damage to the pipe, and I wrote, repair to replace to pre-construction conditions at minimum or improved with a new drainage pipe or component as needed, as Brendan had acknowledged during the hearing. That portion of that pipe might need to be replaced when they dig out the trenches, and just added buffer zone as a word. And then for 55E, I added the language here, existing grading shall be restored to original site conditions in terms of the pipe shall be inspected to confirm pre-flow conditions after, to confirm pre-flow conditions after construction to make sure that the pipe is obviously functioning as it originally did, or possibly improved. And then existing grading to be restored to original site conditions. Added a few additional conditions for prior to construction, so kind of group these together. So prior to site construction and any site work, the following shall be completed and inspected by the conservation agent. Notice to abutters shall be provided by the applicant prior to any site work. I left that general, just so whatever the applicant thinks is best to notify all applicants, I'll defer to them unless we want to write written. And then added another condition here about the limit of work. The limit of work shall be staked by a professional land surveyor and shall not encroach into or obstruct the abutter's existing 5-foot wide right-of-way. That was a comment from one of the abutters who was concerned about that being obstructed during construction. It didn't appear that that was within the limit of work, but just wanted to add this language to make it crystal clear. And then this language in green is already existing, by the way. I just moved it to the pre-construction, conditions. And then I added a sentence, Chris, as you had talked about, if all soil stockpiling shall be covered at the end of each workday to prevent any erosion into wetland resource areas and buffer zones. Technically erosion and sedimentation, sorry. And then as part of the construction management plan, the applicant shall consult on traffic control and management with their contractor and the Cohasset Police Department, and any traffic plan shall be approved by the Cohasset Police Department as applicable for a private road. Just to be mindful of, we already have language in here that utilizing Lothrop Lane during construction is discouraged as part of this order conditions to prevent unnecessary temporary disturbance in the buffer zones. So we already have language in here about providing a construction management plan to understand where the vehicles are coming, going, parking, staging, utilizing 159 property, the abutting Atlantic Ave property to the maximum extent practicable to not block Lothrop Lane, and then just adding this additional language about traffic control. Typically that's outside of the jurisdiction of the Conservation Department, unless there's any issue with damage to a resource area or buffer zone. So I just kind of said in terms of collaborating with the Cohasset Police Department, I don't know what kind of plans that they would require for a private road, but I think it's necessary to at least consult them and make sure the contractor and the police department are on the same page in terms of coming and going, installing things. National Grid would obviously need to be a part of that discussion. So I don't know if that language is sufficient, but I'll keep going. Proposed dwelling is, oh, sorry, that's typo. And then I added this language, the installation of the proposed utilities shall be limited to a small excavator only, and parking or staging of vehicles, equipment, materials is discouraged on Lothrop Lane and not allowed within a resource area or buffer zone. So just kind of reiterating that throughout construction, not just prior to construction. And then added an additional two-part visit for just inspecting the trenches with the contractor before and after installation, just given the sensitivity being near the wetland resource areas, the drainage pipe, et cetera. Normally, I do not do this for construction projects, just to make it clear, but I'm happy to do this for this project, just given the multiple sensitivities that we're dealing with here. And that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else before I make a motion?
Can we just look at 55 really quick, Charlotte?
Yeah, sure. Let's scroll back up.
The part E, after construction of the pipe. Existing grading shall be restored to the original site conditions. The way that reads is that all the grading is going to go back, but the plan doesn't show that. The plan has different grading. So is that specifically supposed to relate to the pipe?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I can say that. They're not, I thought we weren't changing grade from the,
there are a few very minor
Minor.
modifications,
Yeah,
but I wouldn't want it to be in conflict with our drawing. That's all.
Okay. Does that help add for the drainage pipe?
Yeah. That makes it clear that it's only talking about the pipe. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, in terms of like grading elevation, like where the pipe is directed and whatnot. Yeah.
Good.
Does anybody else want me to go through the other ones? Anybody have any edits, comments, things to add? No.
Thank you, Charlotte. I don't think so. Okay. Then I make a motion to close the public hearing for notice of intent 24-14. at 159 Atlantic Ave / 32 Lothrop Lane and issue an amended order of conditions with our standard special conditions and the revised conditions as previously shown on the screen and read by our conservation agent, Charlotte. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I'll take a roll call vote then. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnell, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Will Ashton,
Will Ashton, aye.
and Chris McIntyre, aye. That vote passes 5-0-0. And we'll also need an amended variance. So I'll make a motion to issue an amended variance for notice of intent 24-14 at 159 Atlantic Ave / 32 Lothrop Lane for work within the 50-foot buffer zone to the inland bank and the intermittent stream to complete the additional proposed utility work as shown on the approved plans. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Take a roll call vote. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnell, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Will Ashton,
Will Ashton, aye.
and Chris McIntyre, aye. That vote passes 5-0-0. And the NOI, well, so that hearing is closed. That's it.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brennan.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yep.
Charlie and Ginevra.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have NOI 25-21 for 33 and 37 Stanton Road, 294 and 300 South Main Street, and 33 Cedar Lane for ecological restoration project to remove invasive Phragmites spanning multiple properties along the Gulf River from Snook, Carter, Johnson, and Murphy families, owners, applicants. Do you have someone to promote for this one, Charlotte?
Yes. Hi, Chris and Tanner. Can you introduce yourselves for the record? And also, is there anybody else to promote for the project?
Well, for the record, my name's Chris Frateroli. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting. I do not believe we were expecting the applicants to join us, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay.
I agree. Tanner Poole, Solitude Lake Management, project manager, and I agree with that statement. We don't have anybody else joining.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So, well, if I may, Mr. Chair, since the last hearing, we did go ahead and submit a handful of revised items based on discussion at the last hearing. We took the opportunity, and let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. We took the opportunity to essentially develop a little GIS, what I'm calling a GIS site plan. We used LiDAR data for contours that is publicly available from MassGIS. So these are 1 foot contour intervals that you're seeing, labeled the major contours every 5 feet. We did also identify elevations for mean high water of the river, as well as the floodplain at elevations 4 and 9 respectively. So the bold blue line you see along here tracks at elevation 4, and that's the mean high water line of our river in this reach. We also have land subject coastal storm flowage, the bolded red line here at elevation 9, that's your 100-year floodplain. We did also draw in an edge of salt marsh line as well, so that's shown here in green. Based on the discussion last time, this is, just to reiterate, this is not field delineated, but this is, a conservative approach in how we're showing this for this graphic here. Otherwise, on the plan, we have 2 dashed blue lines. These are our inner and outer riparian zones, the 100 and 200 foot riverfront area. And just added some notation in the top here that this is just for future reference, the next people to look at this plan, it's not based on a field delineation, so this is not perfectly precise. It's approximated, and we're using those LiDAR contours for the purposes of elevation here. For what it's worth, we've found them to be exceptionally reliable, especially in areas with little or no tree canopy. So this is what we put together for a quote unquote survey plan. I did go ahead and really just overlay our Phragmites treatment areas on top of that. So kind of kept them separate for the sake of some clarity in looking at existing conditions, but we're also showing basically the exact same thing along with those treatment areas. Measures just over 35,000 square feet, so about 0.8 of an acre overall as we span up and down these 6 parcels. Tanner also did put together a little alternatives analysis and a little slideshow of some of their Phragmites work on Nantucket. So I can share my screen with that unless you have it handy, Tanner.
I have it, Andy.
All right, sounds good. I'll turn it over to you then.
Gotcha. Sorry. There we go. All right. So pretty much every year we have a Nantucket Phragmites program where we kind of go over to the island. We've been dealing with a lot of heavy infestations of Phragmites, I want to say like large stands, in some cases up to 10 acres in different areas along different stretches of different water bodies. Some are brackish water bodies and some are just saltwater areas with saltwater marshes right off the sides. So just a quick overview is that we started on Nantucket back in 2015, just doing a small management or a trial program for the Nantucket Pond Coalition out on Long Pond, White Goose Cove, I believe. And then of course from there we started to do, like I said, small sections. We received good results, and then other organizations out there, conservation organizations necessarily, kind of saw the results that we were providing and kind of jumped on board and wanted to try this on some of their areas. So as of right now, we are at about 5 different water body / wetland areas. I believe I only have 4 to show today, but just to get right into it, this was long. There we go. This is Long Pond. This is a pond that's kind of like on the southwest corner of the island. I believe we started here. So this would be, as far as the introduction, this is a complete different section of Long Pond that we started managing. This is an area we manage for NCF, which is the Nantucket Conservation Foundation. And we started probably in about 2022. We didn't really have too much documentation over it. I stepped in 2023, started kind of documenting a lot of these areas. And as you can see, this was a area where we used the Mazamox. We did a broad foliar application, about 4% volume to volume in our case. And you can see just in a matter of 2 years, the frag from left to right is dramatically different. There is still a good amount of frag, I would say, definitely along the shorelines of this area. But you see like right down the middle, there's just dead stalks. There's not that much there. There's cattail coming back in. There's a little bit of some native grasses coming back in. So, all in all, this seems like a very good place to kind of just show how well our foliar applications have been working. The next place we have is Hummock. Now, this is a place where, as you can see, we're still dealing with a little bit of trouble here. Like 2023, this was an entire field. This is the southern end of the pond. You can't really see it, but in that left photo, right over the right side of that berm, there's the ocean. And again, this is kind of applied with the same practice, same methodology. And it's been 2 years since that photo, and in this case, we've only gotten maybe about half of it. There has been good regrowth, however, as you can see, kind of towards the left side of the right photo, they have a little bit of burnweed, and they have a little bit of what's it called? Aroma scent, or sweet scent, excuse me. but it's a native salt marsh flower that kind of comes back. And instead, if you can see it a little bit, some pink flower, but I know I have it in a couple of my other slides. Here again, there's a sorry, I didn't introduce the last place was Hummock Pond, or if I did, but that was the southern section of Hummock Pond. This up here is our northern section, kind of, there's a northern pond up at the top. And here as well, this is kind of midway through management. As you can see, like there's dead stalks in that 2023 photo. There's still a good amount of frag in the middle of that area. And in the following year, you see, hey, like we kind of knocked back a lot of that frag. There's kind of not much there, but at the same time, the environment is just kind of open. There's nothing really growing just yet. And then as we returned this year, we got to see how kind of the natives just took over that brown area and kind of started making it lush and green again. In my last photo, or last slide, this was Hummock Pond, or West Hummock Pond. So a completely different pond, slightly to the west of Hummock. And we kind of took this on last year. So 2024 was the first year we did this. I'll just note these were all for Nantucket Conservation Foundation. But this was a smaller area we took on. It was about 1.36 acres. And you can see, like, to the left, this is just stretches of shoreline where it just kind of takes over a little bit. And between this year and last year, you can see we definitely knocked back a good amount of that frag. I believe at this place alone, we got about 60% coverage. So, I mean, it's just, really wanted to reiterate, like this program that we use for Amazomox for spraying Phragmites has been really productive. I think that's about it for the slides. I can slide over to the analysis. I can get this to go away. There we go. Oh, wait, I don't have the analysis up. Actually, Chris, do you mind sharing that analysis?
Yeah, I've got it handy.
Thank you.
Let's see. You want to walk through it, Tanner?
Yeah, please. So
Yeah.
all in all, this entire analysis is we're trying to propose for the project to reduce the dominance of Phragmites on the Gulf River, at least in the salt marsh of the Gulf River. To improve wetland habitat and promote growth for less native species. There are a couple different actions. I think in total I used about 4. First one would be to pretty much have no action to allow the Phragmites to continue to grow. And I mean, I said not practicable. It's definitely practicable. It's definitely done. It's just not something we would want to do. We want to, like, again, improve the wetland area for native species. And this would not follow any of those goals. This would kind of continue to let it further spread, and continue to take up area for native species and diminish like habitat value. So I feel like this would fail to do what we are planning to do in our NOI. I mean, I think this one's pretty straightforward of what the pros and cons of this. But now I'll move on to 2. Number 2 was mechanical harvesting.
Sorry, hold on. Let me do that.
No worries. There we go. Or mechanical control, excuse me. And this kind of entails mowing, cutting, even excavating it out. And I stated while cutting can limit growth, it alone does not prefer long-term control because at the end of the day, you're just cutting the frag. They'll just grow back the following year. And they also have plenty of food stock or nutrients in the rhizomes to kind of grow back in as well. Excavation also I felt like wasn't a good idea because you risk erosion, you damage the marsh itself, you kind of remove a lot of the things that make the salt marsh a salt marsh. While it could provide like good support, it's not a good standalone option. While we do stay away from using herbicides, this also just kind of lets rhizomes stay in place, which again allows them to continue to grow. Yeah, kind of good there. Here's our opposer. Here's the clip and drip method. This provides highly targeted control of Phragmites. Simple kind of just, cutting the stalks, going back to the lower cutted stalks and just kind of doing a drip of herbicide into the stalks. It is labor intensive, and it can be somewhat difficult in some muddy tidal influenced areas, depending on the tide. And I would, let's say, agree in saying it's difficult and kind of unsuitable for large, dense stands. I would definitely agree that it's feasible for more isolated patches in some sensitive areas, but not for like a larger scale management of Phragmites. It's very precise. It's, like I said, very good for small patches and sensitive areas where we're considerably concerned about spraying in like natural heritage areas or any species protected area. But it is very labor intensive, time consuming, and very impractical for large stands again. And number 4 would be foliar herbicide application with cutting. Foliar applications have been, to me, been proven very effective at managing large, dense stands of Phragmites. Pretty good. I mean, just if you list it down, it gives systematic control of the Phragmites. Cost effective and it's pretty efficient. Less labor intensive. There's less soil disturbance as far as the other options. And cutting helps remove the dead biomass and improves like penetration for native species to recolonize in those areas. Of course, the cons, there is the drift, of course, which can be rebutted with weather or just paying attention to the weather. And of course, the use of herbicides raise an eyebrow, create issues. And then in general, at the end, I kind of just summarized by saying at the end of after evaluating all of our alternatives, foliar herbicide application with cutting just seemed the most practical for the situation that we're in. We're dealing with a large, dense stand of Phragmites. When our goal is to introduce the native species back into the area, and these actions kind of help prove why like this would be the best way to do it. There's been a proven track record to do this, and that's just kind of what we want to do to help improve the wildlife habitat and improve the growth of native species. Excuse me. But that's about it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. I wasn't at the last hearing, but I did watch the recording, so I'm up to speed and comfortable participating in tonight's hearing. But based on the concerns of other commissioners and questions, I'll start with them. I know Tom in particular had questions, comments. Tom, do you have any?
Oh, and my concern is one of the concerns is the 2 herbicides that are being proposed here and impacts on soil, wildlife, and the adjacent plants. Mainly, what's going to happen with the Spartina?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's no doubt that the Amazamox killed the Phragmites. It was evident from the pictures, although those pictures, I couldn't really tell if they were taken from the same vantage point. I think like a aerial photograph would have maybe shown illustrated the areas of study a little better. But in any case, I think it's clear that it kills the Phragmites. What's not clear is what it's doing to the ecological system, the water, the animals in the water, and what the biodiversity of native plants is. The other question I had just kind of off the bat is what's the long-term approach when it's just spraying? How do native plants naturally recolonize if the spraying has to continue? How do you prevent killing non-target plants when you have to keep spraying the target plant? And so my understanding is that there's no proposal to plant native plants with this. It's just spraying and removal of clippings. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's just kind of
Yeah, at this point, that's correct. We tend to find that the native species, really reintroduce themselves pretty effectively.
Okay. I guess so then it goes back to my question of like if you have to come back 3 or 4 years to spray the Phragmites, how does it uh, what keeps the Phragmites from coming back at the same rate as native plants if you're not actively introducing the natives?
So I think, Tanner, I'll let you expand on this if you got something else to add. Really, so obviously we understand that the potential for drift or off-target impacts exists. That is an inherent part of what we're doing here, but when we pay close attention to weather conditions and we avoid spraying in windy or rainy days, when applications are made by trained and licensed applicators, that risk is really quite minimal. And we don't see it. It's not uncommon to see some amount of off-target impact, but this is not the type of thing where you notice, oh, this whole patch of Spartinas died off. It's really the thing where it's like, oh, that patch, that little area might look a little stunted, something like that. So, I think kind of contextualizing the quantity of off-target impacts is important here. There is some small amount that is to some degree inevitable, but this is not like whole sections of the marsh grasses being wiped out. And beyond that, the systematic effect of glyphosate and these herbicides is really the most important thing to consider here, because these herbicides are absorbed through the leaves and then translocated down into the rhizomes. So similarly, this is really what kills it from the inside out, so to speak. I don't know if you had something to add to that, Tanner.
No, I mean you kind of had it spot on. Yeah, like we are using herbicides that have been approved by the EPA, herbicides that have been approved by DAR. These are herbicides that they have the scientific background to proven that this will not kind of necessarily harm large scale like grasses and stuff like that. I mean, of course, we are trained mass applicators as well, and where, like you said, there's of course, everywhere you go, there's a small risk of off-target drift, but that's not the case necessarily with like a Mazamox.
So how long would you expect the program to last?
In short term, I mean, I really wish I could say 3 years. Long term, at the longest, I'd say 5.
Have you ever worked on a project where you've successfully removed them permanently? Well, we won't say permanently, but what's the longest term success that you can cite by you or anyone else?
I can say we have a count we were at for 3 years total, and by the time we left, we were just like our third visit, we were just taking photos. We weren't treating anymore. So, and I definitely think it kind of depends on the age of the stand. It also weighs heavily as a factor.
So how long has a stand been in existence,
For this one, I cannot tell you.
We can probably look at that easily.
Yeah, it was there at the beginning of if you look at the Nearmap photos, they go all the way back to 17. And not only has it been there since 17, it hasn't changed at all in 11 years. There's been no growth. There's been no expansion into the salt marsh.
So at least 11 years. That's pretty well established.
At least 11 years. The extent, if you look at the aerial photos, the extent is almost identical 11 years ago as it is today.
Yeah.
I suspect that the salt marsh is salty enough that it prevents the further expansion out towards the Gulf.
Yeah, there may be some sort of equilibrium or carrying capacity, so to speak, that it reaches and has kind of reached its maximum extent, so to speak.
So I guess
Okay.
that comes back to, you can remove it for 3 years and in 5 years, is it going to be back? And we're gonna go back through all of this again and well, the risks do seem relatively low. If the risks are repeated every 5 years, then you've got to take that into account too. The magnitude, of course, increases, it doubles essentially. The risks double every time you have to do this. So is it really effective? I've tried to look and see if anybody's really solved this problem. It doesn't seem like it. It's
Yeah, I mean,
hard to find a case study where it's been eradicated and hasn't come back.
The only,
I think, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say the only real success stories have been related to like culvert removal, which just drowned it basically. So I'm interested in this project. I am interested in, trying to remove Phragmites and restore native plants, but I'm wondering why the project wouldn't is it strictly cost, I guess is the question. Why it wouldn't include replacement with native Spartina or other grasses after the removal of the frag? Is it
Would have
cost
to be
effective?
replaced by cattails, I presume.
Well,
The Spartina lives in a brackish or fully salty
whatever. Yeah, I mean, whatever plant wouldn't survive here. I guess that's another part of it, is what we need to identify what the native replacement would be so that we can measure success, right?
Yeah, there is, I mean, obviously there's a cost associated with that, right? But really the reason that we don't propose it here is that we don't typically find that it's necessary in the way that we watch these marshes revegetate really unassisted for the most part. So, if there is a desire from the commission to include some sort of revegetation plan that would be kind of on an as needed basis, I think we could certainly explore that. But typically we don't find that it's needed.
Well, maybe in Nantucket, I don't know, but here it's not just Phragmites. There's every other invasive plant ready and waiting to inhabit or colonize virgin disturbed soil. So I guess that's kind of another layer of my concern is, is there even enough stock of, if the Spartina is too low and it's not going to survive that far up, what's there that is native that would, colonize that spot or those areas?
Yeah, sure. We'll check in with the applicants and see if we can give you something in terms of revegetation.
Were the examples you gave us, were those salt ponds or were they freshwater ponds?
Two of them are salt, the other two are brackish. Well, one completely salt, and then the other two are brackish mixed with fresh. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's somewhat comparable then.
I will say that the other kind of projects that we've recently approved the use of herbicide were rather limited, and they did include quite a bit of well, one of them was more of just an experiment on a very small scale, and the other was really they included a lot of native plantings, like which is why I think we allowed it. So this is a big jump for us to just like spray in the resource area. It's a problem throughout town, and so it's also a precedent that I think we're hesitant to step over that line. So I think some more detail, talk to the applicants and see what their willingness. I mean, I'm only one applicant. I think if there's other comments, based on the new information, I know Will had a lot of comments. Will, do you have any thoughts or questions?
No, my only question is are they still the same two products proposed as last time, or has there been any change?
No, it's the same two products.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not supportive of using these here. I don't think that the risk is worth the result. And I think that cutting is probably the best thing you can do here, if anything.
Okay, thank you. Other commissioners, any thoughts or where we stand? Steve, any questions or comments?
No, I have similar concerns with the herbicides and the effective long-term effectiveness of them with respect to this particular stand. The only places I've seen that have been absolutely successful have been in Quincy, and they did that by completely taking the pond apart. You know, they dredged the entire thing and replaced the bottom. 10 years later, it's still free of Phragmites. That's certainly much more extreme than anything being planned here.
Kathy?
Well, I have the same concerns as the other commissioners have mentioned, but I would want to see revegetation with native species if it would take. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe some of the chemicals would damage the area and the native species would come back. I don't know, but I would consider going through with that process if we could revegetate with native species, and we would know that they would come back.
There's a couple of isolated stands of Phragmites there that are somewhat smaller. And I wonder if we might consider an experiment where those are treated and revegetated and watch. What's the area we're talking about here? The total area is 1.3 acres, something like that?
It's about 0.8 of an acre. It's about 35,000 square feet.
Okay. All right, but there are some isolated patches there, and
Yeah, there are definitely a few. There's really one major stand that is mostly uninterrupted, and there are a couple of smaller stands as well.
Chris, sorry to jump in. Would you be able to share that treatment plan? I know you
Yes.
guys had also revised the delineations. I kind of just want to see what the commission, what your input is based on the previous discussions of what the commission was looking for this project, and if they need to revise the plans any further.
Right. So, just to reiterate, I did walk through this previously, but blue is elevation 4. That's mean high water in this river. Green is the edge of salt marsh here. We have the red line as the 100-year flood elevation. And then the two dashed blue lines are the inner riparian 100-foot riverfront area and outer riparian 200-foot riverfront area. Basically, these red hatched areas are our Phragmites treatment areas. And like I was saying, there's really kind of one big bulk area here, separated by a dock in a couple of places. But there are a couple of smaller, more standalone portions as well.
I would just say that the use of the digital elevation model is acceptable to me. We have seen, and some of our other applicants use this, and also have follow-up surveys that establishes that the errors in the LiDAR surveys are more or less equivalent to RTK surveys with, conventional, high-tech, but conventional survey methods. So this is probably as good as having us professionally surveyed, maybe better.
Yeah, I think that is true, Mr. Bell. There are probably millions of data points across these parcels, whereas you might be lucky to get 1,000 out of an on-the-ground survey.
Millions per square meter, yeah.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Okay. Any other comments, commissioners? So where we stand, it seems as though there's at least a couple commissioners who are not in favor of the herbicide approach. I, for one, would want more information about what what we're looking to, what the finished product, what we want this to look like, so that we have an idea of what plants would be at this elevation, what native plants that we're looking for, and the consideration of what the improved outcome would be if there was an effort to recolonize the target native species in that area. I think that if you just wipe it out, it's either gonna come back as Phragmites or possibly another invasive plant. It's a large area, and even with that information, I'm not sure what what the outcome would be if we were to put it to a vote. So I don't know, somewhat at a loss as to where to go at this point. Tom, what do you
I'd like to
suggest?
see a case study where this has been successful anywhere in the mid-Atlantic or Northeast. I just don't think it's been accomplished anywhere on a large scale. Small scale, yeah, in places perhaps, but there needs to be some evidence that this actually stands some chance of working, not just for 2 years or 3 years, but actually eradicates them. It's pretty discouraging, really. I mean, like a lot of invasive species, once the cat's out of the bag, that's it. There's no moving back in time. I think I'd be surprised if anybody on this commission is in favor of more Phragmites in town, or any Phragmites in town. We'd love to see them all gone. But is it really feasible to do it? I mean, are these landholders willing to, every 5 years, have this process, or maybe even every 4 years? This is an aggressive, a really aggressive plant, and any of these species that propagate by rhizomes are really tough to deal with. So
Agreed. And it goes back to, if we just start spraying this stuff everywhere, what's, how understanding that, they're licensed applicants, but, I for one, am, based on the SDS sheet information, I wouldn't be concerned about what the uptake is to the, to the soil and in the the ecology of the marsh there. So
to that point, Mr. Chair, maybe we can put together sort of a layman's summary of the biological fate of these things in the environment. Would that perhaps be enlightening? Because they operate by some pretty complex biological and biochemical pathways. So if we were able to kind of maybe distill that down into something of an executive summary, Would that be appreciated?
Yeah, I mean, the glyphosate we've been, we're familiar with, and we understand that, I think there's a lot of hesitation, at least on the other one there, based on, what the SDS sheet, indicates in terms of, toxicity to aquatic life and,
Understood.
the persistence in the environment.
I
I think if anything, if we were gonna continue this again, I would be I think I would be exploring more of the mechanical alternatives and options to try to revegetate or reintroduce natives to the area. I don't think just foliar spraying approach alone is gonna be approved. I'm not getting that sense. So I guess I leave it in your court, based on what we've kind of discussed today, to kind of reassess, talk to your clients, and see what they're willing to do.
Absolutely. No, we very much understand and appreciate your feedback here. I think we've got some good direction. Assuming we are gonna proceed down this route, we definitely have to decide what the tolerance is for, perhaps other methods, et cetera. I probably got a few paperwork things to iron out with Charlotte on the back end. And I think we would, with that, because I don't have the benefit of conferring with the applicants right now, can I request a continuance to your next hearing with the understanding that that may get bumped out one more?
Yeah, and I'll just let you know that it's not just it's a little sooner than 2 weeks.
So
Right,
it
that's
would
a
be,
Tuesday instead of Thursday.
yeah, so just keeping in mind that you would need to provide documents the Tuesday before. I know that's coming
Yep.
up. But yeah, if you need to bump it, if you want to continue to 9/23 for now, if you guys just let me know in writing, if you need a continuance to another date, that should be fine.
Absolutely. Yeah,
As long
let's
as
do
the
that. Let's
applicants know
do,
whatever day you're continuing to.
yeah, let's do 9/23 for now, and I'll be in
Okay.
touch if we need some more time. I think I'm probably working over the weekend anyway.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Thank you. All right, so then we'll continue for now to 9/22.
2023?
Oh, sorry.
Was it
9/23.
23?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Apologies. 23. Yes, 9/23.
Thank you, Tanner. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Okay. That it for your, oh, we have an enforcement order. Okay, so next up we have an enforcement order for 337 South Main Street.
Yeah, so this is actually an existing enforcement order, and I'm providing an update to you guys to see if you would like to either lift, amend, whatever you guys want to do with the enforcement orders. Just to refresh your memory, this was sorry, I got to pull up something, but I'll switch over. So this was an enforcement order for unauthorized tree removal. The applicant had submitted an RDA, but I don't know if you guys remember, cut down the trees the day of the hearing. So the commission issued an enforcement order for a restoration plan, which he did provide. The commission approved it with one tweak. I'll just show you guys the plan. This was from Kennedy Gardens. There was 5 eastern red buds, 1 fringe tree that was substituted for a native dogwood. And then my brain is mush right now, but 5 shrubs. I'm forgetting the common name for this. So he, per the enforcement order and follow-up, had some instructions. So after the commission approved the plan, he was informed to install the plantings by November 15th, 2024, which he did. So I did go over to the site and saw that the 5 trees were installed. We did switch where the shrubs were, just put some on either side, still in the same buffer zone, but just not all 5 in a row. So spaced them out a little bit more. And then the second instruction was to contact the agent 1 year after the completion of the plantings to inspect the plantings and discuss any replacements. The trees are, I was over there a couple weeks ago. They're in good shape. I didn't see any signs of stress or whatever. He says he's keeping them adequately watered. The shrubs, some of them they got eaten a little bit by deer, but they're still alive. So I didn't see any issues with the plantings. So I can't remember why, and I'm sorry I didn't have time to look at this beforehand, but we'd only required a 1 year monitoring period. Usually our standard is 3. So since the applicant has completed all of the requirements from the enforcement order and the follow-up, I think, you guys can make a decision of whether or not you want to lift the enforcement order with an acknowledgement that he's just going to continue to maintain the plantings, or if you want to, revise it, just keep it open for the 3 year standard period. But there was a reason why we specifically said only 1 year. So that's something that I'll just note. And I'm sorry I didn't have time to confirm that and watch the old hearing, but we did specifically say 1 year, not 3, for whatever reason. So, yeah.
Is it just because of the trees? It's typically a condition that trees for a typical NOI would have to survive for 3 years.
So this wasn't an NOI. This was an RDA asking for tree removal, but they had been taken down before the commission reviewed it. So that's why we pressed the enforcement order. And he did provide the mitigation plan. Like I said, we approved it. He installed it within the right time, planted the trees, just had to shift where some of those shrubs went. And they look like they're all in good condition so far. 1 year later.
So our options are to what? We would have to leave the enforcement open to have it?
So yeah, the
Standard
reason why I
3
brought
years.
it back is he did install them in August. So that's kind of why I'm coming up with the year anniversary here. I know it says November 15th, 2024, but he installed them before then, last year. So, you can vote to lift the enforcement order and I can follow up with him on that. Or if you wanted to amend it for any reason, you can vote to do that.
I don't suppose we can condition it a closing of an enforcement.
You could, because usually I follow, I do formally issue a letter or an email as best I can, just to document in writing that we've lifted the order after we vote.
All right.
So I could put
Well,
something
then
in the letter that, it's
I would-
expected that you maintain the plantings, obviously, not cut them down, which I don't think he would obviously do because he planted them. So,
Right. I would say, yeah, just to try to maintain some consistency, we close it
Yeah.
and just give them a letter that,
yeah,
minimum of 3 years.
yeah,
they need to
Yeah.
survive.
yeah.
Does that make
Okay.
sense to everyone? Anyone else? I mean, he's done the planting, so.
Yep.
it's no reason to keep it open. But be good to be consistent in terms of survivability.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense to everyone? Anyone have a?
Are you saying
disagree or-
close it and condition it on 3 year survival? Or what do you mean?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know. That, like Charlotte said, there must be a reason we picked a year. I trust us from a year ago to have. 3 is pretty standard. There must have been a significant reason we only did 1, right? I would want to know why we did that before putting a new condition on them.
Yeah, there definitely was, and I'm sorry I did not watch the old recording, but I was like, I don't know why, because there's an enforcement order right next door, and they had a 3 year monitoring period, so I don't really.
Yeah.
So maybe
Everything's always 3. I don't know why we would have
Right, I know
Yeah.
that's why I'm like there definitely was something.
maybe
know,
before we make a decision, you should review it.
Okay. You want me
Yeah,
to just
I'll
continue it on the
step in, yeah.
23rd? Just put
Yeah.
it back on the 23rd? Yeah, okay. I'll
I
let him know.
think my sense is that we just tried to capture the growing season, so we gave him a year to plant them. That's probably why it says year, but yeah, we can just keep it going until
Okay.
we confirm
Oh
it.
yeah, sorry, it's been a week. So I will I'll continue to the 23rd and I'll just watch that. If he asks,
Okay.
obviously I'll let him know. I told him that, I would have the commission revote on this considering he's completed all the conditions. So
Okay.
I could just continue it to the 23rd just to say we just want to verify the 1 year thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Um,
All
Yeah.
right, last but not least.
COCs. We
Mhm.
have NOI 24-05, 74 Black Horse Lane. And two of them. I'm gonna do them at the same time.
Yeah. Hi, Will. How's it going?
Oh, not me.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. There's another Will. Enter the
Another
chat.
will. Will Leeds, DTM Law, here for the applicant Jack LLC, owner of 74 Black Horse Lane and currently 66 Black Horse Lane. Do you want a presentation on this or just a brief overview again, Charlotte, or?
Yeah, I was gonna say I can either do it or you can do it, but since you're here,
Yeah.
if you're comfortable.
Yeah, no, happy to. As the commission may recall, we were here in April to get a partial COC for the land now known as 70 Black Horse Lane. The two NOIs cover what was formerly a land or a section of land that was formerly all identified as 70 Black Horse Lane. That has now been divided into three parcels, 74, 70, and 66. 74 is the only land which the work described in the orders of conditions is the only land which the work described in the orders conditions was contemplated to occur upon and has occurred on. So due to a potential upcoming sale of 66 Black Horse Lane, we want to get a partial release of the order of condition over that land as we did for 70 Black Horse Lane in April.
Okay. Were you gonna share something, or were we just kind of giving us the rundown?
No, and just to verify, well, so like what you're asking is kind of like what we've already done for 70 Black Horse Lane. So this parcel was originally one parcel, 74. It was split a few years ago into 70 and 74. We issued partial COCs for 70 Black Horse Lane because no work under the 74 permits ever occurred on the 70 portion. And now you're kind of asking the same request now that the lot has been split again into 66 and 70 Black Horse Lane. And again, no work under these permits has ever occurred or will occur on the 66 Black Horse Lane portion that was all originally one big lot. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. Order of operations, I think, doesn't really matter. They were all split, yeah, a couple of years ago. It's just been. It was done when we came in April, decision was made not to seek the one for 66. I think primarily because we didn't have a final address for it or any identifying title to connect it to. And now at least we have an assessor's identification for it. So that's what we're waiting for.
Okay.
So for a COC for this kind of weird nature when it's connected to like, registry stuff, as part of the COC, one of the options in the form is to basically list that it's an invalid order of conditions for the specific parcel and just say that the work under the actual lot where it's happening is ongoing. And so that would be addressed entirely through 74 Black Horse Lane and not through these other parcels that have now since been split off from the original property.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, it's confusing. Right? If this is land court too, well, then that also explains the confusion.
Fortunately, this is not.
Oh,
But...
good. Okay. That makes it worse. Okay.
Okay. Do you have any info or anything to share besides that, Charlotte? That's all good
I think
go?
it's more of a technicality than everything else because the work, I'm not sure how many, I think everyone but Will was on to see that 70 Black Horse Lane is a raise and rebuild that was recently just permitted. 74, the original permits were to construct that barn into a single family home. So that's what NOI. Oh man, I'm going to mix these up. I'm sorry. One of them was for the house and another one was for actually reconstruction of an existing pier under a Chapter 91 license. So both of these permits are occurring on the still recorded lot that is 74 Black Horse Lane. And so that's why they're asking for the partial COCs to clear off for 66 because obviously they weren't relevant to the original work.
Okay. That's. of
Yeah,
fair enough.
yeah, I think it's
Alright.
like a technicality more than anything else, rather than like an
Understood.
actual work
Got it.
verification or compliance
Okay.
thing.
Good. Okay, I make a motion to issue a partial certificate of completion for notice of intent 24-05 at 74 Black Horse Lane, now 66 Black Horse Lane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Tom Bell, second.
Thank you. With a motion and a second, I'll take a roll call vote. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnell, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, I.
Will Ashton,
Will Ashton, aye.
and Chris McIntyre. Aye, that vote passes 5-0-0.
Oh,
And
sorry,
I-
is Sanji here? Sanji, are you
Oh,
here?
yeah, I listened to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
I as well.
Sanji's back. Sorry, Sanji.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were back.
No worries.
Apologies, Sanji. Sanji, aye. Did you
Aye.
say?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So that vote passes 6-0-0. Sanji, you didn't announce yourself. I didn't know you were back.
Yes, I'm stuck
Alright.
in.
I'll make a motion also then to issue a partial certificate of completion for notice of intent 24-05 at 74 Black Hole. Oh, sorry, the same one? Is it? Are they both
06.
66?
2405 and 2406.
Okay. 24-06 at 74 Black Horse Lane now. Sorry, what's the other address?
No,
66.
it's 66.
Both 66. Okay. 66 Black Horse Lane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I'll take a roll call vote. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnell, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, I.
Will Ashton,
Will Ashton, aye.
Sanji Fernando,
Sanji Fernando.
and Chris McIntyre. Aye, that vote passes 6-0-0.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you for the
Thank you,
time
Will.
this evening.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Thank you.
All right. That's it for COCs, right?
Yep.
Great. All right, next up we have, I think, just one liaison position left. Which is for the CPC, Community Preservation Committee. Sanji, our hope was that you would take that back. At least I was. I haven't been able to cover many of those, and if you're willing to go back to them,
I definitely am, but I don't think I was ever on. I was on the open source one.
okay, right. I think Will is gonna take over the open space, just because
Open
they need a
space, yeah,
person
sorry.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can continue or go back to the CPC, weren't you originally? Did you ever?
No, I think
liaise?
Valerio had that.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was one of the, I think he was before you, Chris Valerio.
All right.
Oh, also,
So
I'll
if you're-
just clarify that it's not a liaison position. We just found that out this year. So I'm sorry, we apparently have been doing this wrong. So the open space and CPC, they are not liaison positions. They're actually full member positions. And they are 3-year terms. The good thing with CPC is that they are hybrid, Sanji, and they don't meet, I don't think, as frequently as open space. So just keeping that in mind. So if we are doing these appointments, I guess, Sanji, you'd still have to submit. Will, I think you did this for open space. You have to submit the form online, then select board just
Yeah.
has to approve you.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, it's a little bit more of a formal process. When I was brought on, we were told they're liaison positions. No one questioned us until this year. So
Just start showing up.
yeah, right. Yeah, probably because we weren't showing up. Yeah, exactly. Oops. So
Okay.
Sanji, I think actually for this one, since Chris, you are the current, Chris? Oh no, Chris, your term was up in 2025. So I think this would be for 3 years. And then Will, you had taken over for Sanji, correct? So
Yeah.
you were taking over for like 2 years or something, I believe.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I sent that. I think I copied you all. I sent that note.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
to
yeah.
officially
Thank you.
resign.
Thank you. Yeah. So Will is taking over for your term, Sanji, for like 2 years, and then this one would be just to reappoint because Chris's term was up in 2025. So just you would be the 3-year term, but like I said, I don't know how often they actually meet, but it's definitely not monthly. So
And it's all
Yeah,
about
sounds
giving away money, so that's fun.
yeah, I might be applying to CPC in the near future. So
Yeah. We're supposed to be a tree city and we need to.
we
That's
are.
actually
I
that.
submitted an application. I need to see if that ever went through. I did submit it for 2025. Also, the awkward part is I think you're supposed to have a tree warden, so I don't really know how to fix that part.
Of course, I nominate Chris McFarland. He's
Yeah.
not going to have much to do. His son's going to college.
Anywho,
Um,
sorry, Sanji. Just wanted to clarify that before you officially said yes.
Are you still saying yes, Sanji?
Now I go silent.
Oh, no, it's unmute. Yeah, no, I'll do it. Yeah, if I could do it on Zoom, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, they are hybrid, as far as I'm aware.
Great. Well,
But
then-
yeah, I don't know if I have the link or form, so but if you
I can
if you
send
shoot
it
that
to you.
over-
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's just on like the Quasit website, but I'll let Tracy. I'll give Tracy a heads up that you're gonna send in the form, and then she'll put you on whatever select board meeting. You don't have to necessarily attend; it's recommended. Well, I don't know if you did, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm always there.
Oh, okay. You like watching select board? Okay.
Is this a nomination situation? Do I need to formally
Yes.
nominate?
So we
Okay.
should still vote and nominate him. He just still has to go through the process with select
Alright.
board.
Well, then I formally nominate Sanji Fernando as the designated Conservation Commission member of the Community Preservation Committee.
Yep.
Second.
Thank you. With a motion and second, I'll take a roll call vote. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnell, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Sanji Fernando,
Sanji Fernando, aye.
Will Ashton,
Will Ashton, aye.
and Chris McIntyre. Aye. That vote passes 6-0-0. Great. Congratulations, Sanji.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sanji.
And thank you. Yes. And that's it. I think everything else, all the other positions are filled.
Yep.
So on to you, Charlotte. You got any updates?
Yeah, so 58 Gammons, this was a project that we recently approved. It was a raise and rebuild where we did have some conditions to remove that guest house from the buffer zone, relocate the infiltration system. They did submit revised plans, so that has been completed. I believe planning board has recently approved it, but if not, I'll double check. But they are in the process of beginning construction soon. I just met with them to go over where to put in the erosion controls. I will just note that there are some large tree specimens within the limit of work. So I did talk to the contractor about trying to put in some construction fencing around the trees to try and protect those as best we can. I told them that we are experiencing, witnessing on sites that trees are dying throughout construction, and we just want to take every step. I know climate change and drought are a thing, but obviously active construction and stockpiling of anything near those trees doesn't help. So I'll try my best to contain that site as best we can. There are a lot of ledge outcrops that they'll have to maneuver around, so they're already going to be maneuvering around rocks. The 3A and Pond Street sidewalk projects, these are all ongoing, as you guys have seen. They have already started in Situate on 3A, and they're going to be moving north. They're going to be doing this in pieces. They have already started some of the utility work. I was out there with MassDOT, and we were not happy with some of the utility work that was done. This is done separate from the contractor who is supervising, because it's like National Grid and other companies that are subcontracting with them. They left a bunch of stuff in the stream at the corner of Beechwood Street. We are not happy with that, so they are taking it out. That area is going to be obviously permanently altered. They are relocating that stream to the next, right next to where basically where the sidewalks and everything else are going to go. So we are just trying to keep the area clean and contained and not result in any more fill or anything in the wetlands. So we're just kind of being mindful of the site. There is an environmental monitor from MassDOT that does go to the site weekly and does provide report weekly or biweekly, and they do provide reports. So I do coordinate with them. So there is a lot of oversight with these 3 projects, but as you guys saw, the Pond Street intersection for MassDOT is pretty much done. They put in the grass seed mix and that's coming in. The other portion from Stop and Shop to Pond Street, they're about to start paving the sidewalk. I was speaking to Chris about this earlier this week, but I'm not really happy with the riprap design. So from Stop and Shop, there are some riprap slopes with a pretty steep slope. It was a 3-to-1. It doesn't look stable. I did talk to the project manager about that. I said, hey, like after you pave and after you backfill a little bit, because they were raising it about 6 inches, and after you put in the seed mix, let's go back to the site and make sure that that riprap is stable, because the erosion control barriers are still in. They cannot encroach past the limit of work, so it's a very tight space. The filter fabric was showing, there were rocks everywhere. The barrier was actually holding up some of the rocks, so I'm kind of just like, okay, this doesn't look good, so we're going to reinvestigate that after they pave and after the site is more stable, because we don't want to cause an erosion problem before the barriers come out. So I'm keeping an eye on that. As you guys know, it's in 3 pieces, so it's extra fun. And this Pond Street sidewalk project, you guys may have noticed, they've already put down the barriers. I was just out there with Brad Holmes, with Brian Joyce, and with the tree foreman today. We were looking at the replication area for bordering land subject to flooding. The approved plan does call for taking some trees out, but they are going to be grading down to the existing wetland behind it. And revegetating that with shrubs and trees. It was part of the replication because part of the sidewalk work did involve altering bordering land subject to flooding, so you had to replicate it 1-to-1 per state law. So we are in agreement about that. There were 2 hazardous trees that the tree foreman and Brad Holmes both confirmed should come out aside from the approved plan. So I did document those for our record just to make sure when we're evaluating this project at the end. And they will be hiring someone to plant the trees and the shrubs, and Brad is going to coordinate that with the town. So that's underway. They want to start like now, I think like next week. So you will see sidewalk for Pond Street going in quickly. And then the last update was the fee schedule updates. I actually have finalized those. Mindy did a really good job at doing an analysis of all the other South Shore towns. We put together an Excel sheet. We'll clean that up so you guys can read through it. I talked about the fee updates with town council. They've already reviewed them. We looked at them with John Hallen, the permitting director. So he has also signed off on them. There's a few things that you guys may notice. There's reasons why we put those in. So I did do a summary of changes, and I'll clean that up and put that in a OneDrive for you guys to look at. And we have advertised for it to be on October 9th. I may have to put it first on the agenda so town council can be here if you guys have any questions or edits or concerns. The only thing that's required is that we just vote on it. I've already advertised it, so we're good to go. So that's finally getting updated. I can start charging more money, and maybe not everyone's happy about that, but yeah. And then last but not least, I did have 48-hour updates. There is one that I would respectfully like to turn off the recording for, but I will make that absolutely last after you guys have motion adjourned. It's a sensitive matter, so we just don't want it to be in the minutes. But Kathy, do you want to go first, and I'll just go through my other 2?
Am I allowed to mention an address of property?
Yeah, as long as it's not an ongoing project that wasn't scheduled for the agenda.
Okay. It's not a project. You might all have seen it on Forest Ave. If you're down at Black Rock Beach and you drive up Forest Ave from the Black Rock, little bit past Fox Run, and then on the right side there's a sign, a for sale sign. Says 144 to 146 Forest Ave for sale, lot 9+ acres. 9+ acres. So
where is this, Kathy?
the address for sale address is 140. It says one.
Yep.
It's on a rock. It says 144-146
Okay.
Ave. And then there's a for sale sign there that says lot for
Okay.
sale, 9+ acres, and then a
Interesting.
100-foot front. So I mean that's in the middle of all that swath of forest and some wetland, and there's a conservation area up there.
Okay.
It just makes me nervous. I keep thinking 9.5 acres. Somebody's going to go in and
This isn't the Jerusalem Road parcel, is it?
no.
No.
It's separate.
Okay,
And
Okay.
it's actually not,
Yeah.
according to the tax assessor, it's not even 9 acres.
Oh,
okay,
It's about 8.8, I believe, is what they are assessed for. Lots of wetlands there.
okay.
yeah.
Yep.
So I'm just like a heads up, just, I don't know what's gonna
We-
happen, but just,
Okay, thank you, Kathy. I appreciate the heads up.
not great news, but you know, you never know.
Yeah. Okay, the other two 48-hour
Will
issues.
have the open spaces
okay.
by it.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a great new playground and park or something like that.
Huh? We are in the process of updating our open space and rec plan, so give me those comments. So yeah, other 48-hour issues, just so that you guys are all aware, I mentioned this before, but I was accepted into a course to look at land protection techniques and tools, assessing everything from conservation restrictions, site monitoring, acquiring lands, grants, all that stuff. So they are every Thursday from 4 to 6. So if I'm ever not available via phone right before a meeting, this is just going on for the next 2 months. I felt that it was very necessary given the momentum in town. We're updating the open space plan. More people are coming forward with conservation restriction questions, to which I am now hopefully going to be more helpful with answering. People are trying to section off portions of their land. They're trying to see what they can get tax benefit wise. So obviously that's coordination with assessors. So I just felt like it's really necessary. Long term, if I'm still here, it'd be really great to have the town be proactive in managing their lands, open space, conservation, etc. Be really awesome, other than just, obviously regular stuff. It would be awesome if we could even acquire lands. That is a responsibility of the Conservation Commission. It's like land management is in my job description, and Cohasset has just historically never done that as far as I'm aware. I don't think my predecessors did that. So I'm trying to change just trying to change what we currently do to what we can do. And I'll see but right now it starts with me just getting trained, and I'll keep you posted. And then the other 48-hour issue is I've talked to a handful of arborists. As you guys have noticed, we're in a drought. There's been a lot of tree stress, lots of tree die-outs. I'm getting more and more hazardous tree phone calls. I'm working with arborists to make sure all those trees are in fact hazardous before they're taken down, making sure all the proper procedures are in place. I'm not allowing any hazardous removal in a wetland, just so you guys are, feeling confident with my decision making. I'm making sure I get everything in writing from an arborist, and I am pushing that. And I did talk to some arborists about irrigation. I'm not sure if you guys already knew this, but irrigation is also not helping the trees. A lot of people think that helps, but it actually does not in the long run, because you're not bringing the water sufficiently to the deep ground where the roots need to be established. So if you put in irrigation lines around large tree specimens that are already established underground, and you put in surface water irrigation where it's only, coming in and the tree is going to try to reach that water. And with highly changing temperatures and drought conditions and stuff, that can potentially stress trees out even more. So that's something to think about for, just in general, and maybe educational purposes. I'm learning stuff about trees every single day, talking to different arborists. They all have their own management opinions and techniques and ways to educate homeowners with irrigation, fertilizing, watering, etc. So there's always going to be something wrong with trees, but this drought and continuous drought spells are going to be concerning. So we are unfortunately going to start to see, conditions like this. We're already in this period. So I just want to let you guys know that I'm always learning more about trees. So I may have more information with future projects and notices of intent and restoration projects and things like that. The more I learn from all these professionals that are on the site witnessing what's happening to the trees. So
Charlotte, is that drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, or both?
Both. So like if you don't install like irrigation deep into the ground, or if you don't provide enough watering to get that deep soil penetration, that can actually train the trees to almost send their roots back up, and then that can stress the trees out.
Because real rain rains for like a few hours. And
Right.
you put your sprinkler on,
So
it's like happening there.
good long period saturations are better for the healthier trees that are infrequent and not infrequent and not frequent surface level watering, which a lot of people, when they install irrigation systems, that's what that is. And it doesn't percolate deep, for those larger trees to, fun stuff. I'm just like, wait a minute, so irrigation doesn't help? Yeah, at least for the larger trees. I can't speak for landscape trees and planting beds. I'm sure obviously that's different, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, would it be okay, Chris, if we did a motion to adjourn and could everyone just stick around for a couple minutes?
Yeah.
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 Anyone have anything else for the? I'm good. Anyone have anything else? No. Okay.
I
Then I'll
just-
make a motion.
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
go
I
ahead,
just
Kat.
wanted to say to Charlotte, congratulations of getting in that program and thank you for doing all that work for the town of Cohasset.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
learning a lot, learning a lot. Had an all-day orientation last week in the torrential downpours in Western Mass, so that was fun.
Congrats.
Yes. Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank
Lucky
you.
to have
Thank you guys.
I'll make a motion to adjourn then.
Second.
Thank you. A voice vote will suffice for this. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
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 Great.
Okay, I'm gonna turn the recording off.